Now they can hear us at the fucking chat. Don't you get rowdy with me talking about no, you couldn't hear anything.
Oh, okay, so I can introduce myself, right? Hi,
Yes.
I am feels weird saying my own username. 12gizguy6. I usually go by Giz most of the time. Um, and I am the head developer of Salvation and One Last Memory. So yeah, hi. Pleasure to be here.
Hi, I'm here too, but my doorbell just rang, so I'll be right back.
Oh, okay, well there goes there goes
Nice.
her. But then I'm here, but that's because you guys expect me. So, but anyway, yeah, this is the first episode of Doki Doki mod interviews. Where
Yeah, I'm the first.
yeah,
I'm the first.
you're the first one. Now everyone has to try to be better than this one. It's gonna be hard.
Exactly. Of course, before we get started, I gotta give my obligatory shoutouts because
I'm back.
listen, I made a lot of friends in the last maybe 3-4 years, and a lot of them came from this game, DDLC. So it just feels right to call out my friends that I've met over the years. So if you don't mind, I'm just gonna just
That's
list
fine.
names, and hopefully, if they check this out, or if they're here right now, they can hear and they'll feel good. So I'm just gonna go down the list here: Potato, Liri Lias, Losif, Pasta. Um, I think he goes by. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Zani or Shawnee. I think you know him. He's an artist on Twitter.
I
Um,
think I know potato.
yeah. Well, I don't know if you. There's multiple potatoes.
Oh no, then I might not know potato.
he goes by Tatty. So maybe I should have used that name instead. But I call him Potato. There's Chico, Sedai, Mountain, and
Okay, I know
then
him.
Sakuya, and Poli, and then a couple of other friends would be Dark, Exo, Moga, Frog Out, Eroded. Let's see. I'm bad with names, so like I know who I'm gonna mention, but I don't remember their name, so I have to see it. Andre, Astro, Gabe, or Awesome Space. This guy, he goes by Fu, but I like to call him Waifu. He hates that. And then we've got Helico, Nymph, and I guess that's it. Hopefully I didn't forget anybody. If I did, oops.
Oops.
But yeah, we're ready to get started.
They know you care. It's okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
care. I care, guys.
But yeah, all right. So I guess
Oh yeah,
now.
hi chat.
Yeah, I was saying, he's looking at you, chat. By the way, I don't know if they heard that part where you were opening. Yeah, he's looking at you, chat. So you better behave well. But we'll get to you
Yeah.
guys' questions later. Actually, just because of that, I only made like 3 questions of my own, which are like the more obligatory interview questions.
And I have none because I asked Zero if I should get some, and he was like, no. And I was like, okay.
Because I didn't want to make you sit there and have to like brain cram questions, and you're like, oh no. So I was like, so.
I don't got any. I'm just here.
You can ask if anything. I did want to, and I don't know if the questions involve this. I did also want to kind of talk about, really like the process of both mods. Yeah, we'll talk about 2 because yeah, you've played both of them.
Yeah, I played both.
2 very different stories, 2 very different experiences developing those 2. And I would love to talk about Salvation's development because, good lord, there is a lot. But I think I'll get to your questions first, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, yeah, you could talk about that. Yeah, I was like, just because I think my questions they're like the more like generic. Like the first one's like, what was the inspiration behind Salvation and One Last Memory?
Okay. Well then, yeah, I guess we can start there. For Salvation, it's I don't know if there was anything that directly inspired it because I guess now I can kind of get into how it started.
Mhm.
I was very active on that subreddit back in 2018. Very active. I was always posting art, posting really like, I hate to use this word because it's really overused, but no other way to describe it. Very cringe. Very cringe.
I also
Reddit
hate using the
posts.
word, but sometimes it's
I would
like
post like What were you gonna say? Sorry.
So I was like, I also hate using that word. I was like, it's just sometimes though. It's the only one that that works, and you're like, I guess.
Let's see. So I would post on that, and I would just post like really, like oh, Sayori is the best for this reason, you know, typical DDLC garbage. And I was just scrolling through, and I remember seeing a post saying, "Oh, looking for writers." And at the time, I had already posted like just random poems that I had written, and so I was like, "Yeah, why not? Maybe I'll give it a shot." Because you know, at the time, I loved writing, and I always have, because my mom is an English teacher, so I better be good at writing because I would never hear the end of it if I wasn't. So I went in, it was like a Discord, and there was this guy, he went by Cool Dude 34, and you're gonna hear that name a lot. So he was the quote-unquote leader of this little project that he was doing, and it wasn't a mod at first. It was just he wanted to do a fan game, and so it was like he wanted to do something completely separate. For this was like there was no modding was even involved at first, but the basic idea was there wasn't even honestly a concrete plot. There was a couple of like ideas that he had where a car crash had to be involved. He wanted it to be voice acted, and that's it. Those were just the ideas, and I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll work with this, whatever. So Komi is watching us. yeah. All right, sorry, I read that in chat. So where was I? Okay, so I was like, yeah, okay, I'll come up with something. I'll come up with a draft. So I come up with something. He really, really likes it, and he's like, okay, you're the lead writer now. And I'm like, oh, all right, okay, there we go. So the that was like that was a starting point, and there were other members on the team, and the one that surprised me was, you know, there was actual voice actors on board, and I'm like, wow, like how did you manage to get these people? As it turns out, there was 4, and only like one of them was genuinely good at what they did. I feel bad saying that, but that's what it was. The other 3 were just children. They were kids.
They were just people.
Yeah, and they didn't, you know, it wasn't a very good job. The only one that was good and actually stayed the whole way through was a voice actress named Evil Annie 25, who is basically off the face of the planet right now because she had I think she had a child. So yeah.
Okay.
So I think she's
congrats to her.
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe she's doing well.
Oh,
The
that's
last
good.
time we talked, she's doing well. But yeah. So she was the only one that kind of, you know, stuck around, because the others I was just like, all right, you're out. You know, I didn't say it like that. I
Get out.
them, but like,
Get out.
yeah, but I'm getting a little ahead of myself there. So let's fall back a little bit. So the voice actors are introduced. There was another writer, and he was okay. Wasn't great, but he was all right. So we talked about the mod ideas that I had, and that's when I started saying, like, okay, wait, like, let's make this a Sayori focus mod, because I like Sayori. The writer that I was talking with liked Sayori too. So like, yeah, why not? And at the time, the only mods that had existed, at least big name ones, were Rain Clouds and Brand New Day. That was it. There was probably a couple of others, but I had no idea.
Quite the competition.
Yeah, and I think there were others that were starting to be developed.
Yeah.
You know, I think Purist was gonna get thrown into development. Exit Music was probably starting. You know, it's like the beginning.
Yeah, it was the beginning of everything.
Yeah. So, but we were very, very small. The server was very, very little, and we got somebody to help with promotions. So we started doing like promotions, and Salvation was not even the name that we decided on. Originally, the original name was Doki Doki. I don't even remember. Like one more chance, something like that. Not the best name in the world. It kind of sucks. Salvation ended up kind of being better. But yeah, and the reason why it changed is because somebody else was making a mod that had the same title, and I'm like, well, okay,
Oh, no.
time to change the name. So Lost of, there was, I think Monica After Story had also begun. It was like in its infancy at the time.
That was like, yeah. I think that was like the first one made, because that one was like made on like a forum at first, and then it
Yeah.
became an actual mod like later.
Yeah, it was just like the concept of, okay, what if we took Act 3 and then made it its
Yeah.
own thing?
I
And it was
remember the
interesting.
days. I remember the days when Monica After Story, where you had to type in what you wanted to say to her instead of clicking
Yeah.
on menus, and I was like, it's like so old now. It's like, oh my god, you had to type it in before.
Yeah, I remember that. And yeah, this was back, I want to say, this wasn't 2017. This was 2018. Early 2018.
Mhm.
Because the mod officially started development in February of that year. So things started to get a little weird not long after I had joined. This guy, Cool Dude 34, was not normal. And I started finding out that there was drama before. Like, they had a team that had already split. Like, this was his second attempt at making a mod. Like, or trying to make something, anything. It wasn't even just a mod. So I'm like, okay, well, I kind of want to know what happened. So I asked around, and I asked one of the voice actresses, and she started saying that he was asking, he had asked her to do like sexual voice lines when the mod wasn't even going to involve that.
Oh no.
So I was like, okay, that's a bit weird.
That's a little
That was a bit weird.
And then when I found out the kind of, I love the reactions to this. Oh, this is so cathartic, man. I haven't gotten to talk about this in years.
Everybody's like, oh, yeah, I'm like, oh, that's, oh no, that's
and
not
that's
good.
that's not it either. For the mod itself, he wanted this to be in the story. There was like he wanted to have a scene. He wanted me to write it, a scene where Monica drinks the MC's spit out of a cup.
What?
And it's like, huh? Like, what?
But why
What are we
though?
making again?
And I'm like, wait, why? And I honestly couldn't tell you why anymore. I couldn't tell you.
What the heck?
And this was like my first kind of realization that this community is weird, man. Like, it had already been getting weird at around February. It was already getting weird to me. People were, carrying around USBs on dates, and I was like, this is maybe not for me anymore. But yeah, when that happened, I was like, yeah, okay, this guy's weird. And I was thinking, okay, what do I need to do? I'm not gonna do that. But he's like the leader, so I would like I was thinking of leaving because I was like, nah, this is not for me. I think I'm good. But then people start coming to me and saying people started coming to me and saying like, yo, this guy, like, he's not a leader, like, he sucks. And it's like, okay, but like, what do you want me to do? And they were saying like, well, let's do like a coup d'etat or whatever.
My God.
And I'm like, okay. I mean, like, I was honored, honestly, because I was like, this is like, I mean, yeah, if you guys want me to be the leader, I'm down, but like, I don't know how we're gonna do this. Basically, I get the support of other people. Like the development team had grown a little bit since the beginning, so we had a big team now. So we had an artist, we had writers, and the voice actors, and then a coder. So I basically grouped them all together and said, hey, this is what's going on, this is how he is, how would you guys feel if I took over? And everyone was down. Everyone was like, yeah, we want you, because you actually, like, you want to do something with this mod, and he hasn't done anything. Because yeah, at the time he wasn't doing anything. He was just kind of there. And later on, a couple months down the line, I found out that he was kind of really just there for the clout. So Yeah, he was never really passionate about what he wanted to do, other than the weird spit stuff. I don't know what was up with that. But
Yeah, during DDLC's like high point, it was like I think it was like during like it first came. That's when like a lot of the weird stuff happened because a lot of people were there because the game was popular. So then
Yeah.
once the game kind of settled down, all the people who were just there because it was popular kind of left. So the people who actually cared about the game stuck around. So then it's like that's when everything kind of simmered down because all the weird people just went to like the next new thing. So it was like,
Yeah,
oh good, they're gone.
I think I left before I saw that happen because I still think the community is probably as weird as it used to be. I don't know how true that is anymore. But I have been very, very critical of this community before for a multitude of reasons. Some personal, some that are a lot larger. I'm not even going to mention the ones that you already know what the main issues are. I'm not going to mention that.
Yeah.
You know, everyone knows. But so back to the mod stuff. So I take over, move on to a new server. He's upset, naturally. I don't care. We're done. So the mod was officially mine, and there you go. That's how I became the leader of Salvation. And that was, I mean, that was a high point, honestly. It was great because it felt like like we can make this happen. And I guess now we can kind of get into quote unquote the inspiration of the mod. Finally, you're gonna answer that question.
Oh my god, finally the question. Right.
So now that that happened, we became we kind of like, okay, well now I need a more concrete kind of idea of what I want this mod to be. So Act 1 was already being written out, and it started off with the scene where you walk in on Sayori before she kind of, you know, does the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then the game continues, and some ideas that Cool Dude 34 had ended up sticking around for better or for worse, like the car crash. You remember that one?
That's what made me like when you were like, well, there has to be a car crash. I was like, well, it's nice to know that ended up happening.
Yeah.
Nice to know that dream ended up coming true.
That idea stuck around because I'll be honest, I was new at this stuff. I mean, you're talking about I was still in high school at the time. I had barely turned 18. I was, you know, a senior in high school, and you know, I had never done this before. It was my first time joining a community. I had barely made a Discord account, a Reddit account. Worst mistake of my life. You know, so I was new to this stuff. I wasn't, you know, so kind of getting thrown into a leader of a mod and then, you know, eventually a community was very, very overwhelming. And it ended up being to where these people were like throwing ideas, were like, oh no, you should do this, and I was just like, okay. I was just cool with it because I didn't want to quote unquote disappoint anybody. You know, I had kind of had this mentality like, okay, I gotta, you know, please everybody. So ideas that people were telling me ended up kind of just getting thrown into the mod, and I would have to rework them because some of the ideas were garbage, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna rework it so they don't feel bad that I removed their idea. So that's the car crash stuck around because the developers, or like my team, was like, well, no, I like that idea, and I'm like, you do? But like, and even then I was like, we need like art. I don't want to use this because do you remember the image? Like it was like realistic.
Yeah, it was.
Weird.
Yeah, it was kind of jarring looking. It was a realistic car.
That wasn't supposed to stay there.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be drawn. The problem is when development started to, you know, go down the drain, I couldn't get an artist to draw that for me, so I just, and it stayed there because I didn't think to remove it because, you know, the story had already been written around that event, so it was really, really hard to remove that. So yeah, there's that first little hiccup, but you know, that wasn't really that big of a deal. So then like drama starts happening, and like the team, like voice actresses, like one of them she was like 16, like the Natsuki voice actor, and 16-year-olds are stupid. So
dumb
it's
teens.
like, yeah, no, it was very, very like, it was a lot of a lot of empty threats, a lot of okay, I'm leaving, comes back 2 days later, I'm leaving, comes back 2 days later, and
Yeah.
it eventually got to the point where I was like, I don't remember what happened, but I probably kicked her off. She called me an asshole, and I never saw her again. Ended up replacing her with somebody better. The Natsuki voice actor is actually a guy.
Yeah.
That was able to do. Yeah, was able to do.
Yeah, that was
really,
the one I
really
remember. Yeah, I remember because you were like, "That's a dude." I was like, "Oh, it is."
Good. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was pretty cool. It was pretty funny. They themselves said like, "Oh, we're gonna like trap the entire community," and I'm like, "Okay, whatever." I was cool with it. 'Cause I was just happy to have a voice actor.
Whatever you want to do, buddy.
Yeah.
It's your mission.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, Taddy, it was a guy. it was good. But yeah, so just kind of little bits and pieces here and there of just drama and things where a lot of disagreements happened, people left, and I was trying really hard to keep everybody together because I really wanted to see this mod finished, because once we got Ya to like the halfway point, I started hearing stories, like horror stories of mods like just stopping because teams would split, something would happen, the mod would have to be canceled. You know, I don't remember the mods anymore. I don't even know if they even made it back, but mods were getting canceled, and I was like, I don't want to end up as one of those. Even though my team looked like, from the outside, it looked like we were already heading down that path. But like, I'm the kind of guy that like, at the beginning I said like, I'm gonna make this mod, I'm gonna finish it, and even young naive me was like, I'm gonna make this one of the best mods ever, and I'm gonna make it one of the best mods in the entire community. That kind of went away after like 9 months of development. I think that feeling went away after about maybe 4 months, 5 months. That idea, because I was like, I can't. At the time, I was not doing art at the time. I didn't know how to make music. I only knew how to write. That being said, the people started leaving. Devs started dropping, either just coming and saying, hey, like I can't work on this anymore, because they were all working for free. And you know, I don't want it to be understated that I still appreciate, even if they left, I still appreciate those people for helping me out, because they still put in hard work. The artist who ended up ghosting me and never giving any update, like to this day, he never spoke to me again. He kind of just left me in the dirt.
Oh, no.
I still appreciate the hard work he did for me, because I mean, the art that he did was really, really, really good. He did that sprite when she was kind of like with the rope was around her neck. He did that sprite, and he did the scene. I don't know if you remember the one where he's like on the bed and he's pushing her down on the bed. You remember that one?
I think I do remember that one because I'd use it for a thumbnail. Yeah, and then
yeah,
that got me demonetized.
Did it actually?
I think like the entirety of my Salvation playthrough, I think is actually demonetized.
Rip.
Just because I don't know, YouTube's just mean.
Yeah, YouTube moment. Yeah, he made that art, and he ended up ghosting me without any reason why. And I mean, I was upset because I was like, this put like a wrench in the mod's development. Like, it stopped it, because I was like, I don't know how I'm going to continue. And there's a lot of cut content that just didn't make it because I couldn't get the art for it. So I ended up getting in contact with another artist, Shido Thao.
Shido.
I think he goes by. Yeah, Shido.
I know Shido.
So he made most of the game CGs, and that's when the art style conflict started to happen, because I was like, but early on I accepted that it's an inevitability. There's nothing I can do. It was either replace the existing ones with Shido's art style, or just keep going. And I mean, the fact that Shido not made like 3 fully rendered CGs for free was nuts.
Wow.
He ended up leaving too. But he at least had the decency to tell me, like, I'm sorry, this is getting really hard. You know, I can't work on this. Now that I'm an artist I'm just a beginner, but I understand it's hard. It's hard work, and the fact that he did 3 of those for free with multiple expressions is something that no amount of thanks is ever going to really make up for the work he did. I ended up commissioning him later, so you know, I gave him some money. But yeah, and honestly, to anybody who's either making a mod now or thinking of making one, that kind of generosity is really, really hard to come by. You know, it's tough. Like if you're thinking that, you know, you're gonna find an artist that's just gonna do something for you for free, yeah, the chances of that are really, really, really low.
They're very slim.
Yeah. Back then, it was probably easier because people loved DDLC. People were passionate about it. The problem with that is by the mid of 2018, that love for the game was already drifting away for a lot of these people, because writers started to leave, or they stuck around but they didn't help anymore. They didn't even give ideas. So I was like, okay, now it's just me, you know, writing it. Then my coder was not getting anything done, and I was like, okay, screw it, teach me, I'll do it. And I became the coder, so now I was writing and coding. Then the composer, Jan Hare, I don't know how to pronounce that. He finished all the music, so the music was finished. But I still lacked a couple tracks, and I'm like, okay, screw it, I'm gonna start making edits now. So then I started. I don't want to say I became like a musician or anything, but I ended up starting working on music too. Then we also had a sprite editor. They were gone. They left. So I ended up having to do some super basic sprite edits. Basically, out of a team of like, maybe it started off with maybe 15 people, 20 people, only 2 were left by the end of it. With me and maybe like one other guy that was helping me out. This is not including the playtesters. The playtesters are, you know, they were some of my friends that were willing to help, that I'm still friends with today, and they were able to give me feedback on a lot of things. And the mod was in, with the way it is now, it was in a worse state before. I mean, we're talking like random crashes happening.
Oh my god.
Story dragging out in places, and just really unnecessary like fluff that just didn't like if you compare like the mod, the final version, to like the I don't want to say the beta version, but it makes you sound like a developer, so I'm gonna say the beta version. It was a lot worse. It was bad. But yeah, I've had people tell me that it's a miracle this thing even came out, because people have told me that the situation, like if they found themselves in my situation, they would have just stopped, because it was just too much work. And I won't lie, it was. I remember pulling some all-nighters, you know, just to get it done. And I mean, I'll be honest, I ended up hating all of it. I ended up hating DDLC. I hated the story. I hated everything that I was doing because I was sick of it. I was sick of what I was doing. But I still stuck to that. You know, I'm stubborn, and I was like, I have to get this done because I can't quit. It would just be an insult to the work that people have done to quit. But it's not like I debated it. There were moments where I was like, I'm gonna leave, and I'm just gonna make the assets available for everyone to use, because I was getting tired of it, man. It was, you know, there was a lot of mental, you know, clouding going on there. But yeah, I managed to get it done. Even the coding is half-assed. If you look at the script, everything is in one script. Just
oh god.
big. Like just one large script. It's like 69,000 lines of code.
I mean, some people do code like that, though, to be fair. Like,
Some
I've
people
seen
do,
it happen.
yes. I think it's just more of an organization thing,
Yeah.
if anything. But fun fact about Salvation, it is not using the mod template that was currently available at the time. It was
Oh.
made from scratch.
Wow.
So yeah, unnecessary work there because I guess they just didn't know. So I mean, I say scratch, it's like a loose term because the assets were just pulled from the original game, but the code was written from scratch. Like, you can notice it immediately as soon as you start. The background isn't animated. The font is different on the menu. The font is different throughout the game. Even when it asks you to write your name, that's different. There's no box that pops up. It's a literal dialogue box that asks you to input your name. So yeah, it was made from scratch, and a lot of the effects that the original game used just didn't exist. You know the little hops that they did?
Mm-hmm.
Those broke. Like those are broken. Even
Oh,
in its
no.
current state, it's broken because when it jumps, you can see the little the cutoff of the sprite. You know, the PNG. Like it's and I was just like, whatever. Like I was just like, I didn't care because
Fuck it,
at the
it's
time
broken.
I was just like, whatever, it's a feature. Dev mode is on. I left dev mode on. You know,
Yeah.
where you can go back and forth. You can open
Mhm.
the freaking console. You can in the saves place, you can rename the save to be whatever you want.
The original Exa music left dev mode on too, because I remember I clicked
Yeah.
through the fucking death CG in my playthrough. I literally clicked through it.
Yeah.
Like fucking yeah, like leaving dev mode is something where you're like, fuck, like dude, I fucking done that though too. Like I've had to rebuild Vigilante because I've sat there and been like,
Wait,
I
you
left
did?
dev mode on. Yeah.
Wait, really?
I've never released it, luckily. I've like,
Okay.
I think I've like opened it and been like, okay, I think everything's good to go. And then I'll like, I'll like click through the opening intro and I'm like, wait, no. So then I gotta
so
rebuild the entire thing just because I left dev mode on. It's, yeah, leaving dev mode on is I can see why people accidentally do it. It happens.
Wasn't there one
Yeah.
time? Wasn't there one time where you played a mod with dev mode on, and then you rewinded because you didn't see what someone said?
Yeah,
but
it
then
was
you didn't
green
even
passion.
you didn't even put together that you rewinded till later.
I didn't actually. Yeah, I was so used to coding
You
at the
were like-
time. I was like,
you
hold
were
up.
like, wait, hold on, that's not supposed to be like that.
And it's interesting. The rewind is such a good feature.
It is.
So there's
Mhm.
got to be I know there's a way to get that in without having dev mode enabled, but the point is I left it on. It was like it's like the Bethesda game of mods. Honestly, it's really broken. So to see
But
people
everyone
praise
loves it. Skyrim.
Yeah, it's weird.
Salvation is the Skyrim of DDLC mod.
Except it didn't come out 15 times.
That's
Yeah,
it.
that's true.
It
Oh
is-
god, imagine if I did like 15. Here's a Salvation on the Switch.
It says
Which is
Salvation.
apparently that's
Redux,
possible
Redux.
with a homebrew Switch, but
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of shit like that. People have been like playing DDLC mods on their Switch. There's a lot of crazy shit. People have been doing it on their PSP. It's like after story on a PSP. I was like, what the hell?
But yeah,
just
so
when they put the files on there.
let's see. So okay, mod was broken. Yeah, because I didn't give a shit. I was like, yeah, this thing's just gotta come out. I threw it out there. I released it. That was it. The mod came out, and I mean, people were liking it. People were really liking it, despite all of its flaws, despite all of its issues. People were really liking it, and I remember feeling relieved, and happy. I was like really happy that like I did it and people were loving it, and it's amazing. And it was satisfying. It was like I did it. I managed to pull through and get it out there. And it was a big weight off my shoulders, man. I don't even know where to begin with how I just felt free. But at the same time, I had worked on it for so long. There was like a little bit of a void that I honestly wasn't able to fill until I started art, which was 2 years later almost. So yeah, it's just, that feeling of creating something was a feeling that I wasn't able to get back until, again, with One Last Memory a year later, and then getting into art. but yeah, there was a good portion of that time where people were really, really praising this mod, and I'm like, okay, wait a minute, I'm not liking how this is making me feel, because I didn't like the mod. I didn't like how it came out. I knew I could have done better. I could have done a better job. And yet people were praising it like it was the best thing in the world, and I didn't like that. I was like, it was giving me anxiety to the point where I would go out of my way to look for negative criticism. And
God.
that was that's not a healthy thing to do. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Tip: don't do that.
Yeah, it's a recipe for disaster. Honestly, it's a nice way to make yourself feel like shit. But it was weird because I was like, I need to see like actual I need to see people criticize it, because it was making me kind of like crazy. I was like, why aren't people seeing what's wrong with it? Why aren't people seeing all that? And I ended up taking the mod down. It was getting too much, and this was after I think I had gotten mod of the year already, and that was like the tipping point for me, where I was like, "Ooh, do I deserve that?"
So yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got mod of the year, and it was awesome. It was like, oh wow, like really? Because I had already left the community by then. When I found out that I got mod of the year, I was like, oh my god, like that's amazing. like this broken mod like is the best. Like that's crazy to me. And that didn't last very long. I think once I started again, I fell into that trap of seeking out negative criticism, and this time it was a lot worse, because I started seeing people saying like oh, this mod should have done it because it did this better, and it's like, like, oh, the story sucks, and it's like and all that, and I get that. I get where they were coming from with that, but it started kind of, of course it's gonna feel bad, because you put all this work into something, and then somebody goes and says mean things about it. Well, it sucks.
Yeah.
And then not really even giving a reason why.
That's the that's the part where they're like, this just sucks, and you're like, oh, but if you don't like it, give me like, why don't you like it? Don't just say it sucks.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that wasn't out there. I did get my fair share of criticism of people saying, like oh, it's bad for this, and a lot of the reasons I was already aware of, the inconsistent art styles, there was a lot of grammar issues, there was a lot of just weird plot holes. I think there's a plot hole where the big reveal that that they're in a game, it kind of just happens and they just believe it. And it's like when I was writing it, I was like, huh, that's weird. Whatever. I didn't want to fix it because I didn't care at the time, and that's my fault, because I could have easily fixed that. But criticism all the same, and I took it to heart, and I was like, okay, if I ever do something in the future, not a DDLC mod, but just writing in general, I'll be sure to kind of watch out for little plot holes that can happen like that. But yeah, I ended up taking the mod down for a while, and that was it. I was genuinely like at peace with that decision. I was happy that it was just gone. I wanted people to forget about it, and that was it. That obviously didn't happen. People were asking for it. People were, talking about it, saying, "Where's this mod? Where did it go?" Or like, "I want to play this one, but I don't know where to find it." People started like, there was like a little bit of a black market thing going on. People were sharing it, and
oh yeah, people still do that. Yeah, that was
and it was banned. It was banned on the subreddit. I just remembered that it was banned just because it used different BGs or whatever that belonged to
used
the
copyrighted ones. Yeah, that was the whole.
Yeah, and if I hadn't already been going through those feelings, I would have been more than happy to fix them. But I had already been like kind of, on that feeling of like, oh, I kind of want to take this mod down. So when one of the moderators reached out to me saying, "Oh, just delete it. I don't care. Just get rid of it," and that was it. They said that like they were even trying to like convince me like, hey, like it's no big deal. We'll fix the backgrounds for you. They offered to fix it for me,
Yeah, I did. Yeah, they usually. Yeah, actually, yeah, they offer that too, which is pretty cool, I guess.
Yeah, it was cool to them, but I denied it. I was like, no, I'm good. I'm not. I don't want this mod to be available anymore. Um, and I think I don't remember how long I kept it down, but I remember reaching out and saying, bring it back. I was just like, yeah, bring it, because I was kind of getting over it, and I was still receiving messages from people saying like, like you helped me with a rough time. You helped me cope with the loss of a friend, a loved one. Just messages like that, where it was in general, it was like, this mod made me smile. This mod made me cry. This mod made me laugh. And that's when it started switching up on me. I was like, oh God, like none of the negative stuff that I heard before, it doesn't even matter anymore. But the stuff that's sticking with me are these like words that people are telling me, how the good things that it did for people. And I was like, yeah, I mean, no amount of clout, money, fame, whatever it is you get from DDLC mods, is gonna beat the feeling that you get when people reach out and say, hey, your work made me smile. Like being able to put a smile on somebody's face, even if it was just one person, is amazing. And that's when I realized that a lot of the stuff that I was worried about doesn't even matter. People love this mod. People, like, it's special to them. So who am I to take that away from them? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Despite all my gripes with it, despite all my feelings, and I'm still somewhat kind of, I trash on it a lot, but it was my baby. That was my first project. That was my first time ever doing something for a community and making an impact on a community. And yeah, I can't really let it go. I gotta accept it for what it is, and people love it for what it is. And yeah, that's salvation, and that's where I'm at today. So yeah, that's the first question.
Yes.
Oh.
That was the first question.
I forgot there was a question asked.
I did, Monica. Wow, unprofessional.
Unprofessional.
There was actually something I wanted to talk about though. There was the we talked about people were like getting mad about it, and one of the things you said we were getting mad was the inconsistent art style. That was something I never understood when I heard like people complain like about like a DDLC mod having an inconsistent art style. Like unless it's to the point where there is like 4 to 5 artists that made like to the point where this crap looks like a draw pile, then I'd understand. But if a mod just has to have like two different art styles or like 3, I don't fully judge it, because I'm like, well, it's a mod. Like commissioning artists is hard, because sometimes you got an artist that you're like, I'm gonna make them to make all my CGs, but then what if their commissions aren't open? What are you gonna do now? So now you're sitting there like, crap, well, I'll go to that guy. Like, so it's like, I understand that. I feel like sometimes people, because it's like, I don't want to say people are sometimes too critical of things, but I feel like sometimes they're just not critical of the right things. It's like they focus on the things that I'm like, this shouldn't be the thing we focus on.
Yeah, definitely. And plus, like you said, it's a mod. These are given out for free.
Yeah, this is a free thing that you just got.
Yeah, and now that I'm somewhat of an artist myself, I can understand, like, it's okay to have multiple art styles now, honestly. Katawa Shoujo, that's the free visual novel, had multiple artists. That is a game that has multiple different art styles. And honestly, when I played through it, it didn't bother me at all.
Yeah, like it doesn't bother me when I usually play through mods, because it's like it's like the fact that it's free should probably tell you the budget for this is practically non-existent. So
yeah, basically. And honestly, a good writer can make up for a CG.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can make a really impactful scene just using sprites, music, and writing. You don't need no CG for that. As long as you've got the skills to back it up. What else was I gonna say about that? Yeah, it's difficult to find people who not only would be willing to work like on multiple CGs, especially with backgrounds involved, let alone, get a consistent art style between all of them. So if I was ever to make another mod, or whatever it may be, if I was gonna make like a Komi-san joins the literature club mod, I would probably just make either I would make it myself, or I would just get like 2 different artists and just have them make like 2 different CGs, and there you go, call it a day.
Call it a day. Like, yeah, it's just, it's like, I know, it's like, I feel, yeah, because like we said, it's like something I always thought too, like, it's like, the writing is the thing that people are gonna look at, because even if your mod has the most beautiful CGs and it just looks fucking amazing, if your writing isn't that good, it's not gonna be that good of a mod. If the writing isn't that good, like, so at the end of the day, it's like the writing is gonna be the most important part. The CG should be more, if anything, an extra, because if anything, you don't even need CGs at the end of the day.
Basically, I remember people were criticizing the oh god, it's been a long time. It was a Sayori route, I believe, in Purist, that people were being super critical about, where the CGs were amazing, but the writing was garbage.
that was
So,
I was critical of that too. Yeah, the writing of the Purist Sayori route. Everyone, when you ask anybody about the Purist Sayori route, the thing they will tell you is, "Oh yeah, that final CG looked amazing," and it's like, yeah. But the writing for the Sayori route was...
yeah, that can honestly go for a lot of different things, not just visual novels. I mean, you can talk about, like, if
Video
a movie
games.
has video games. A video game can look beautiful, but if the writing falls flat, the whole game's gonna fall flat. I think movies are the same way. Movies can have beautiful cinematography, beautiful CGI, but if the story is garbage, people are gonna remember it for the garbage story. They're not gonna remember it for the beautiful art. Yeah, it'll be brought up every once in a while. Oh, it looks great, but people, remember the story, and if it sucks, it sucks.
But how many characters can you name from the Blue Avatar movie? It looked amazing, but the story, how many characters can you name?
None of them.
Yeah, it's like, see, this is the problem.
Blue Guy 1, and Blue Girl 2.
And Papa Smurf, can't forget about him.
Yeah. But yeah, that's really all I have to say about Salvation. There's really, I mean, I said everything that I wanted to say. The main thing was really talking about the development and, why it came out the way it did. And, people like it, people love it. And I learned that, with criticism and taking criticism, I believe I've said this before, but it's important to seek out the right kind of criticism, and not what I did, where I was seeking out genuine negativity. Because criticism is something you can actually use to improve, as opposed to negativity. It's just negative for the sake of being negative. If if they didn't like it for some reason, and they don't provide a reason why, it does nothing for you. And honestly, it's a misconception. This goes for positive feedback too. If somebody just says, "Oh, I loved your mod," but then doesn't say what they loved about it, that does nothing for you. It goes both ways.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have somebody, that reaches out and saying, "Hey, I love your mod. Oh, thanks. What'd you like about it?" And they're like, "Oh, it was cute."
I just
what
liked
it.
it.
It's like, what does that do for me? It does nothing, and I end up just ignoring it because it didn't do much. The criticism that I ended up valuing the most is the people who tell you why they liked it, or they tell you why they didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
I've had people say, "Oh, I didn't like it because the plot hole. It kind of threw me out of the story." That's good. Thank you for telling me that, because I'd like to hear that. I like to hear what I did wrong so I can know what I improve on. The positive feedback, when they come and say, "Oh, I liked how you did this, that's great. I can do more of that in the future." That's how I learned. That's what Salvation taught me the most, is how to seek out real criticism, negative or positive. And that's what matters, and that goes for anything. It's not just mods. That goes for if you're drawing, if you're making art, if you're making music, you're writing, anything. You know, learn to look for the right criticism, because there is a lot of people that are negative for the sake of being negative, and that's where you just kind of you ignore that, because that does nothing.
You ignore those people.
Let me see. I wanted to. Somebody said something in chat that I wanted to respond to. I love the writing because of how genuine it felt and how you really felt for the characters. Yeah, thanks. I've been told I took a creative writing class the following year in 2019, and the professor had told me that I struggled with scene descriptions and trying to make a scene clear for a reader. But what I excelled at was character writing and making a character believable right from the start. That was one of my strengths. And I was able to use that feedback and what I learned in creative writing class to make One Last Memory, which I believe is my magnum opus. I really love that mod. I love how that came out. Yeah, thanks for that. That means a lot. Who said that? Johnny Zero. Because that's something that, you know, I'm aware that I can probably do it well, but I know that there's plenty of ways I can improve on that, and plenty of ways that I can do better. And that's all it really is, you know. For me, I don't like to get too comfortable with where I'm at. I always like to try to find ways to improve. And, you know, I guess there's something that somebody can get from that, I'm sure.
Good mindset.
This is still one question.
Well, actually, technically, you actually answered two of my you answered another question indirectly when you were answering the first one, because one of them was, how do you feel knowing that Salvation's one of the more popular mods in the community? And you kind of answered that one. When you were saying that you were like freaking out, like you kind of didn't really fully like it and stuff. So it's like you kind of answered two questions with that one.
Makes
so
me feel like shit.
Yeah, so I only have one question left, which I feel like you kind of talked about, but I don't know if you fully did, or was there anything you regret not being able to put in either Salvation or One Last Memory?
Well, I wanted to kind of talk about One Last Memory on its own thing, because that's a...
Oh, okay, yeah, we can...
Not as interesting of a story, honestly, but it's its own story, regardless. Was there anything that I wish I could have done? Yeah, I guess I did kind of answer that. I wish I could have fleshed out more of the stuff in Salvation that needed it. I'm aware that I didn't like how in Act 2 the issues were just back to back to back without any kind of breathing room. It started with Yuri, and you find Yuri, oh, she cuts herself, oh, you know, whatever. And then, you know, there's a little bit of, you know, there's a little sleepover, whatever, and then boom, Natsuki's up next the second day. And it's like, man, you know, isn't that a little overwhelming for these people?
God damn.
And that was just the way that the mod was formatted. And if there was, and for me, like, if there was anything I could change, it would be to kind of just flesh that out, expand it, give it some time, and really let a lot of these issues kind of not resolve, because that was another thing. I didn't want these issues to get resolved. I wanted to just have them be established and then imply that they're going to work towards improving themselves. That was the idea. And, you know, I guess it's up to interpretation of whether or not that succeeded. But, yeah, if there's anything I would improve, it would be that. Again, the art, especially the car crash, good lord, I would love to get that replaced or just remove it entirely.
Make it actual art.
Yeah, it would either be to change that or remove it entirely and change the story completely. Or no, I would just remove it and just have a sound effect play. Just have a black screen.
Mm-hmm. People can use their imagination. It's a novel.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. There was more. Oh, I didn't even get. Remember when I was talking about like devs leaving? Here's another thing that I wish I could have, quote unquote, improved. All the Yuri voice actress, which was, her name was, oh god, I forget now. But she was. Do you guys remember super old music video? It goes like. Okay, I'm not gonna sing. But what is it? What is it? Oh God, it was like one of the first music videos that came out, and it was like da-na-na, da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. You remember that? You remember that song?
Doki
No?
Doki Forever.
Yes, that one.
Yeah.
Oh.
I had
Yeah,
the
I love
Yuri.
that song.
The girl that played Yuri in that song was the voice actress for Yuri in Salvation.
Oh my
Oh.
god, that's cool.
Yeah, it was cool. Problem with that is she ended up ghosting me, just like most of everyone
Aw.
Oh,
else.
so it was I think her name was Kathy Chan, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That was her name.
She's cool. I like
So
her.
Bro, how
She
big is
left.
how big is her subscribers, bro? She might cancel me. She might come after us.
I wish I could have gotten something, because it was bad where, you know, I had asked for an update and she's like, oh yeah, you know, I've just been busy, I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And I'm like, great. So there was a lot of, you know, false hope involved there. I ended up getting nothing. I ended up having to cut because all the other voice actresses had their lines done. So there's an entire, like, 3 poems that are fully voice acted that just didn't make it. Because I had to cut them all out. Because if one was gone, all of them had to be gone. Because it would be weird to not just have one. So, yeah. Nick Lumpkin, I got in contact with her. I just asked her. I just went on Twitter and I was like, "Hey, I'm working on this mod. It's got voice acting. You want to do it?" And she's like, "Yeah, what to?" That was it. So yeah, I guess, you know, don't be afraid to reach out to people, because you never know. But it still sucks because, yeah, she ended up ghosting me like most of the other devs, and I'm not like trying to put like a bad name on any of them. You know, I'm sure they're wonderful people. It's just probably the same thing. You're asking for them to do it for free off their own time and their own talent. You know, they're not really obligated to really do that for you. It's just, for me, I wish they could have just been a little more open. That's it. And yeah, and it did kind of lead to some, you know, paranoia with working on a team with people, because it's like nobody's ever going to be as passionate as you are. You know, it's rare when you find people that are genuinely as passionate about something that you're making. That's hard to find. So I guess going back to that question, if there's anything that I wish I could have improved on, was maybe, I guess, been a better leader. I hate to kind of get down on myself, but I feel like I could have been a better leader. I feel like I could have done better with communication and maybe just making things more clear and kind of being more assertive, because like I said, I was, you know, young, fresh out of high school, going into college. You know, I didn't really know how to do any of these things. So yeah, I probably could have been a better leader, but you know, that's it is what it is. Still managed to get it done. She still did a great job on what she did do, so it's all good. What else? I guess I did want to have a cutscene of sorts, Kato wa Shoujo style. Early on, that was like an idea that was like, I want to have this. And we kind of did have that. We did have the little animated transitions. We had the animated intro, but that never came to light because I didn't know anybody who did that stuff. So if I could go back, I would either pay somebody or I would know who to find to get either an animatic or a full animated cutscene done. But yeah, that's really it. That's all I can really think of off the top of my head.
I mean, you answered it decently well, because you made my questions feel like they were good. Thank you. As somebody who is not a professional at doing this, you made me feel like, oh, good. I asked the good questions. I got good answers out of them.
Yeah. I guess now, Monica, if you have any questions, you can ask them, or the chat can ask questions.
I was about
if you
to
want.
I don't.
Let's say
Oh,
Monica
okay.
with her no questions over here.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I was gonna switch over to the chat's questions.
Hey Gizzy, your mod is the reason I found Zero's channel. Thanks for that. Oh, you're welcome. Oh, that's really nice. No problem, man. What did I learn from writing DDLC stories? It's oh god, there's like more coming in. I'm gonna try to answer them one at a time because I don't want to like
Yeah.
give a really shitty answer to somebody. So what did I learn from writing DDLC stories? Honestly, a lot. Like I learned a lot about writing, and I'm confident enough to say that I've actually improved with thanks to Salvation because it taught me how to write characters. It taught me how to write emotional scenes, and it kind of opened my mind a little bit to what I'm capable of. I'm able to write about things that I've never experienced before, like walking in on somebody who's about to die. I've never been through that. God forbid I ever go through that.
Yeah.
And yet people say that it was effective for what it was. So that kind of stuff is very subjective. A lot of people can get very touchy on that, but people genuinely seem to agree that was a good scene. So it taught me a lot about writing emotional scenes and emotional moments with characters and making characters seem real and believable. So yeah, that's what I've learned from writing DDLC itself. Let's see, that was just Dusan's question. Next is Lawful Emperor King's question. Hey Giz, what are some of your best comments you ever got on your mod? I feel like I've kind of went over this before, but oh, and worst too. Oh god. The best ones that I've ever gotten were honestly the ones that actually are long paragraphs that that really just say how much they loved a certain scene or how much they really resonated with a certain scene, talking about the music and how it made them feel. I don't know if there's ever a single comment that's ever stood out to me, but those were those were the ones that stood out and ones that I still kind of think about to this day. Like when I'm writing, for whatever reason, either writing a short story or whatever, I think about the things that people have told me, and it gives me kind of like a little bit of a confidence boost. Worst comments, honestly, in the grand scheme of things, they're not. The worst one that I've ever gotten was the mod was mediocre. And honestly, I agree with that. So it's not like there wasn't really like an awful thing where like this mod is the worst thing ever.
Joke's on you.
Really...
That's my opinion. Your criticism means nothing.
It never got to that point. So yeah, I don't think there was ever a worst comment. Just Mitsuki asked, does DDLC Salvation hard for you to make? Yes.
As we heard in his story, it seemed very hard for him to make.
I don't want to sound like a broken record, but yes, very, very difficult. Let's see, any other questions here? Okay. Favorite scene in each Salvation and One Last Memory. I haven't talked about One Last Memory yet, but I'll get there. But for Salvation, I guess my favorite scene would be the one that I enjoyed writing the most. It's a mix between the Monica scene where she's kind of talking about everything and Yuri's scene where she's talking about her feelings. I really enjoyed writing those, and I like seeing the reactions to those as well because it's those crazy moments and when people kind of they get emotional over it, they shed a tear or whatever, and those are the moments that I like seeing from people. So yeah, I would say that those were my favorite scenes. Let's see, would I ever write one again? No.
He made two. Like, leave the man alone.
No, I'd be lying if I said I haven't debated making a remake of Salvation. That has, it's on my mind because how can it not be when I've had so many problems with it? Mm-hmm. But I think about the amount of work that would be required. I think about, and my ability, and it's like, well, can I make something that's worth
a remake? A remake,
because, with remakes, it's got to be substantial and it's got to be worth going back. And at the moment, no. this could change in the future.
Mhm.
Because I would also like to do my own art. I would like to do everything myself. I would do everything myself because I don't want to work on a team again. I don't want to deal with that. Because as I'll talk about it more in One Last Memory. Working by myself was a very pleasant experience, and it was very, very fun. And that's why if I would ever to do a Salvation remake, I would do it all by myself. It would be all me. Not right now though. I'm good.
All right now though.
All right. So that was a true high tier pleb. Also, I know you. I follow you on Twitter. The Computer Geek asks, do you chat with friends offline about what you've done with DDLC? Yeah, I do. The friends that have stuck with me since the beginning, sometimes I'll talk to them about it, and I'll say, like, you know, they were there for me when I was at my lowest points. They were there for me when I was at my highest points. And, you know, some of these friends are people that hate DDLC, but, you know, they're my friends. I still talk about it with them.
I have those friends too.
Yeah, and I've had some that I've made where I tell them, oh yeah, you know, I made this mod, and they were like, you did? You know, it's like, I guess they didn't know it was me. So, you know, it's kind of like, it's a weird, like, thing for somebody to recognize me outside of a DDLC community. So yeah, I do talk to them. Let's see. What are there any other questions? Any future DDLC, non-DDLC related projects coming? No. I'm genuinely thinking about a Komi-san joins the literature club thing, like a short 15-minute kind of mod, but that's
I still
really
think would be like, which I still think people should do way more often, is like start off with like a short little simple mod and then move on to something big.
Yeah. Don't do what I did.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Like, it's like, I don't know why every time people's like first mod they end up being like, okay, so it's gonna be this, and then that's why they get canceled because they're like, oh god, I have to write a lot if I want to do this.
Yeah.
It's like, start off with something small.
And that actually goes into Just Colby's question. I'm sure this was explained already, but what would you say was the most time-consuming aspect of making your mods? The coding. Oh my god, writing expressions is the most tedious thing in the world, dude.
Can't relate, MPT.
Oh, I've heard about that.
Yeah.
I'm, you know, way past my prime there, but that sounds amazing.
It is.
Before, yeah, it was awful.
Defining is not fun, normally.
Other than that, though, you know, it now that I guess if that's been, you know, streamlined and fixed, really just writing in general, I mean, probably takes the most time, because, you know, you gotta write a story, you gotta make sure it works,
you gotta start it.
Yeah.
At least with coding, you have it's like, at least with coding, you have like a basis you can kind of go off of. With writing, there's nothing there. You have to create that. So you're like, oh crap.
Yeah. So yeah, that's that question. Let's see. Salvation. Who's that? Oh, Fataz says Salvation was the mod that got me into DDLC mods, and One Last Memory is one of my personal favorite mods as well. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I've heard that a lot too. That Salvation was the one that got them into mods, and that's amazing, man. Like, just quite frankly, just being straight up, that's awesome. You know, being able to really have that effect on somebody, like that's cool. I don't know what else to say. All right, so let's see. Thank you for answering. Helps me to remember being more nice to yourself. Yes, be nice to yourself, please.
Yes.
It is, you know, it's. I'm not gonna say it's easy. It's hard to try to be nice to yourself and be confident in your abilities. But honestly, you know, you can learn how to do it. You can learn to really kind of look at what you did well and say, you know what, I did a good job. So it's important to learn that skill. Let's see. That's Johnny Zero asked a question for you. I don't know if you want to answer that one.
Well, guys, you're not interviewing me. You don't get questions from me.
I guess I'll move on then. Let's see. MJ Burgo asks, "Hey Giz, got any tips for staying committed to such a long project? I'm currently a writer / literally everything else on a project, which I know is going to take a long ass time. Ironically, it's a Seoi mod. Well, I guess to get started, it's hard. I mean, it's hard to really kind of because it kind of depends on how much you're really willing to see things through. You got to have that drive, man. You got to have the willingness to really say like this is coming out no matter what, no matter how long it takes. And if you're okay with taking, it honestly it doesn't matter how long it takes because if you get it done, that's what matters in the end. Take 10 years to do. Okay, maybe don't take 10, but take 5 years, take 4 years, take as much time as you need to get everything the way you want it to be, because there's nothing worse than a worse project. Trust me, I know. CD Projekt Red knows. Pokemon knows.
Fucking FNAF security breach knows.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than a rushed project, and that applies to mods too. So give it as much time as you need. If you need to step back and really reevaluate and see if it's something you even want to see through, don't be afraid to take that time. It's about drive, it's about power. It's you gotta have that dedication, and if you're kind of already having doubts, take a step back and reevaluate what you really want, and then come back when you've got a clear head. That's what I would do because. For me, I'm very stubborn personally. I hate quitting. I hate quitting on things when I say that I'm going to do them. So it's something that it's a skill anybody can learn to be dedicated to something. So yeah, that's my advice to you. Probably not the best advice, but that's my experience. That's my take on that. Let's see. Jusu Mitsuki asks, "Does DDLC?" Didn't I answer this already? I think I did.
I don't know, chats are all
Was
right. Chat, you
salvation
guys get like 3 more
hard for
questions. You guys are
you,
running out of juice.
To make, yeah, I think I answered that already. I heard that your salvation mod was unavailable to download at one point. What was your reason for it? I went over that. I don't want to go over it again.
Yeah, fucking.
Oh yeah, he already talked about that. Yes. To sum it up for you though, anxiety, a lot of just not really believing that I was worth the praise that I was getting. That was really it. Let's see. Honestly, guys, the thing with COA really made me think, like, what if MC got there just in time? Had me thinking about it ever since I saw an amazing job. Oh, thank you. Yeah, that one was, I wouldn't say it was my favorite, but that was one of the first things I had ever written, and that was the hook. That was the one that really was going to get people into the mod, so I'm glad that you think that.
Now it's your fault that everybody like used it so much in their stories now in mods. It's
really?
not to the point where it's become...
is it a trope now?
Yeah, it's actually like a trope where a mod would have the whole MC walks in when she's just about to do it. Like I think it's like it happens a lot. I haven't played one where it's happened recently. Nowadays, the mods I've played have kind of strayed away from tropes, but I know for a good while mods were having the whole MC walks in just in time trope for a lot.
Yeah,
yeah.
I guess there's
You
my
created a trope. Congrats.
impact on the community there. That's kind of interesting. Let's see. So let's go. What are your thoughts? This is Dragon King. What are your thoughts on the hanger hanging besides the shelf and not inside the pot? Huh?
They're talking about. So when I play mods, at one point, it's a fucking like channel meme. At one point, I looked at the MC's bedroom. And I noticed there is a hanger on the left side of his fucking... There's a hanger in his bedroom. It's just hanging there. Of nothing. First of all, it's just hanging. I'm like, what does he hang there? It just hangs there.
I'm telling you, it's his fucking school uniform.
But he has a closet. Why would
he? But he hangs it there so he can put it on in the morning before school. It's easy access.
Wait a minute. His bedroom, right?
Yeah, hold up. I can send the image.
I'm gonna pull that up.
Yeah, I can send the image. It's on the it's the hanger on the left, and I always was like, why is that there?
Oh.
He puts a school uniform there, I'm telling you.
Yeah, I mean, what else would it be?
I just thought it was nothing. It doesn't make sense to me. But...
Honestly, that's like questioning like the existence of like why are there multiple hangers inside the closet when he's only really got 2 outfits?
Yeah, when there's no clothes in there.
And there's no clothes in there. Arbitrary. That's pretty funny though. All right. And I guess he asked, what are my thoughts on it? Whatever.
Fucking chat.
Let's see. Jgaming49 asks, how difficult was to make a proper ending for something big? Well, I don't know. I guess because it's an ending, and you gotta, I guess it's just like writing any other ending. I don't know if there's anything. I guess it's more difficult in that you have to maybe get the right music for it. You have to get maybe a CG, like a final CG for that impact. But really, that's about it. It's just you write an ending the way you'd normally write an ending. The Computer Geek 2, I think I've answered that question already.
All right, chat. You
chatting
get
with my
one
friends
more.
offline.
Chat. You get one more question.
Okay, one more. Hopefully there isn't anybody that I'm gonna miss. That was a really good question. But
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go to Jusu Minsky. What was my reaction when I created DDLC Salvation? My reaction? What do you mean? What? I don't get it.
It's alright. We won't count that question.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm
sorry.
gonna move on to a different question. Let's see. If there even is one. Okay, here's a decent one. What advice would you give an inspiring writer? All right. Don't suck. No, I'm kidding.
Be good.
It's well, I guess just like with I can use art as an example. With any skill, you always have to be willing to look for feedback. With writing, it's harder because it's easy to find people who can look at art and say, "Oh, look, you did good, but you can fix this," because it's art. You just look at it, boom, there you go, done. Writing actually requires a little bit more engagement, and that's difficult because there's not a lot of people that you're going to find where they're going to be willing to read like a full, essay. You know what I mean? So, my advice to that would be surround yourself with people that are willing to help you out and willing to read your stuff, because feedback is important with anything. And you're probably going to want to find somebody who actually knows what they're doing. You're not going to want to talk to somebody who can just tell you like, well, this story sucks because, well, you didn't do this character, you're not going to get anything from
You don't
that.
want to
You're gonna wanna
recruit
talk to
Kermit the
people who-
Frog.
Yeah.
Probably your first option.
You're going to want to talk to somebody who knows what they're doing in terms of grammar and, pacing, stuff like that. It's not just, this moment here could use a different thing or whatever, so you're going to want to talk to somebody who knows what they're doing. Not saying, it's hard to do that, but be willing to share your writing too. That can be kind of overwhelming. I know it was for me at the beginning. Even if it sucks, even if you think it sucks, be willing to share it, because that's how you grow. Failure is a proper teacher, and you have to be willing to fail in order to grow and get better. So yeah, there you go. I guess that's that question, right?
That was a pretty, yeah, because I know, it's because it's like, the thing with my playtesters, I have one playtester in particular who, he's like a grammar Nazi, so it's kind of it's kind of good. He gets mad at me about my lack of commas a lot of the time, so he's able to go in and attack those. But also, he's like not afraid to be like, okay, so this scene makes no sense, and like explains to me why it doesn't, and I'm just like, okay, like he'll basically just call it to be straight and be like, this scene makes no sense. You need to fix this, and I'm like, okay, let me do that. Also, no chat, it is not bug, it is erd.
It's already, yeah.
As long as they provide reasons as to why,
Yeah, that's what you need.
it doesn't matter how harsh they are. If anything, them being harsh and then giving you the reasons why works out better, because then you can really kind of
definitely.
It's a little bit of a wake up call. Like, okay, yeah, all right, it sucks, and then you can reevaluate, and then you can improve it. I've had so many instances where I write something thinking it's pretty good, and then I show it to somebody, and they're like, nah, this sucks because this, and I'm like, oh, I never even would have considered that. So yeah, it's important to kind of get that kind of feedback. I I guess I can probably get into One Last Memory now, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I guess chat. Your questions are done for now. Cause yeah, I know you said you wanted to save that, so you can do One Last Memory.
So I think I had let's see. So One Last Memory was done a year later. It was only developed for like 2 months, and very short. It's a very short mod. It was only like an hour, and it was a passion project because I was pretty convinced that I was done with DDLC mods, and I was like, I'm not gonna do this anymore. But I had there was a lot of different like stresses going on in life, like, oh yeah, and I wanted a way to express myself through writing. So, oh god, I ended up going back to DDLC.
Oh god.
Because I was like, excuse me. I was like, I know how to do this, and I know these characters. And let me tell you right now, as much as I like to bash on the game and bash on my own mod and bash on the characters, I still, it's hard not to like these characters because, you spend that much time writing them. It's hard to not have that connection.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure other modders and other writers would agree, with, when you're writing for these characters, you grow attached to them.
Yeah, I think I like just before this stream, I tweeted out something where, because I have this weird thing where I think I'm too attached to these characters to the point where I literally tweeted out like headcanons of what they'd eat for breakfast.
Oh god.
Yeah, I don't like, it was like what they would do for breakfast, because for some reason my brain, if I'm just sitting here doing literally nothing, I'll think about some weird hypothetical, and then I'll think about how all four of them would react to that, or how all four of them would do something, and then I'm just sitting here like, why did I just sit here and waste time thinking about what would happen here? So it's like I've recently just been throwing them on Twitter because I'm like, I'm gonna make something out of this here.
I've had thoughts like that too. I guess I just had the pleasure of being able to put them into mods.
That's probably what I need to start doing. So I need to start making more custom mods. I'm about to make the breakfast mod.
The 69 viewers, nice. All right. Anyway, so where was I? So the no, yeah, that took me out of my train of thought. I don't know why I did that.
It was all for the meme. It was worth it.
I saw it and like my brain just stopped, and it was just that number.
That number.
What was I talking about?
This is One Last Memory.
Oh yeah, attachment to the characters. So
yeah,
I was like,
attachment. Yeah.
I was in, I was down on myself. So I'm like, well, I don't really know how to explain myself in words, so I'll do it in writing. It didn't start out as a mod, just like Salvation 2, go figure. It just started out as just dialogue, just writing it. And it was also like kind of like a coping mechanism. Like, what if I did Salvation but the opposite? Like what if she died?
What if she died?
And I knew from the beginning, oh, that's not an original concept, but I wasn't thinking of making it a mod yet. So I write it, I show it to somebody a couple months later, and they're like, yo, this is really good. It's like better than Salvation, and I'm like, what? So it kind of showed that I improved, and it showed me that I improved. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna see this through, and I still used it as a form of self-expression. The main difference that I'd like to tell people between working on One Last Memory and Salvation was Salvation I was making for the community. I wasn't making it for myself. And it's vice versa for One Last Memory. One Last Memory was made entirely for me. So, if there was anything that really didn't work for people, I didn't care. Because it worked it worked for me. So
Yeah.
It meant something to me, and it, if people liked it, oh, that's great. If people really didn't like it, then that's okay. But it was made for me, and I was just like, oh yeah, let's just make it public, whatever. I don't care. I think I even used a spaghetto as like a way to get it out there, so that way it wasn't just me. At least there was like another name on there. So it's still my mod. I still consider it my mod because I wrote the thing and I coded the thing too. Well, no, I didn't code the whole thing. I had help, but yeah, that one was like I didn't want it to be entirely on me because I didn't want to make a full return to the DDLC community. That's not what I wanted.
Yeah.
It was just a form of self-expression because, you know, going through a rough time or whatever. So that was the inspiration for One Last Memory, really. It was just salvation, but the opposite. And then self-expression. Like, oh god, what a dweeb am I using DDLC as a form of expression, but it is what it is. Yeah, gaming nerd. Nerd. As Yuri says, the truest form of writing is writing to oneself. That is
I
true.
was about to say, I was like, when you said that you were making it specifically for yourself, I was like, that is probably, in my opinion, the best way when it comes to approaching mods, because like that's how I approach when I'm making Vigilante. It's like I'm not making this really for anyone else. I'm mostly making this for myself. So
Yeah.
if people end up liking it, then yeah, that's really cool, by all means. But if someone's like, okay, this just looks fucking silly, well, yeah, sure. But I like it. So
Yeah.
it's like, people can just, it's like, if you don't like it, it's like, they can just move on. It's like, but I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm making this for myself. If I like it, then I feel like I succeeded.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's probably the best way to make these projects, is to make it more just for yourself, make it more for yourself instead of making it for so that you need other people to enjoy it.
Yeah, precisely. Oh, by the way, for the record, Yuri's actually my favorite, not Sayori.
Yeah, I had to tell chat that because they kept asking. They were like, well, "Why is Sayori your favorite?" And I'm like, "Yuri's actually his favorite."
Yeah, interesting, huh?
She's like, Comey. It all makes sense.
Oh yeah. You know, shy girls, they're the move, man.
Move.
But yeah, I've had thoughts of making a Yuri Salvation-esque kind of mod where it focuses on her, but I'm good. It's because, you know, that being said, Sayori's story and her character is something that I gravitated towards, and I enjoy writing her the most. So yeah, while she's not my favorite, she's the one that I like writing for. The dynamics that she has between characters is really fun to write. So you know, that's not doesn't mean that I hate her. It's just you know, she's not my favorite. But yeah, you know, it doesn't have to, you know, somebody doesn't have to be your favorite, and then you don't, you know, like, you can hate Natsuki and then you can go and make a Natsuki focused mod, you know, and it's actually, you know, sweet. You know, it doesn't always have to be indicative of the kind of mods you want to make.
Yeah,
but what were you gonna say? Huh?
I was like, oh yeah, it's like it's like Sayori's probably like Sayori's definitely not my favorite one out of the four, but she's definitely like up there. But it's like, but I love writing her interactions with people. So yeah, it's one of those things where you can love writing for a character, but they still aren't your favorite. Because I still love writing like all of the girls' interactions with each other, even if like Monica's my favorite one.
Yeah, and then going back to One Last Memory, it's kind of like it's focused around Sayori, but she's freaking dead.
Like, she's the plot point, but she's not even here.
Yeah,
she's the focal point.
It's only because the idea of you know, she's the one that's kind of been shown to die.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, I was thinking like, well, you know, it'll be my take on that kind of idea. You know, the death of a close friend and how that affects people around you. And when I think at the time I had a draft done and I showed my creative writing professor, and she asked me like, you know, have you been through something like this? And I'm like, no.
No.
You know, I've never, you know, God forbid, I've never been through losing a close friend or a loved one to something like that. But you know, when she asked me that and I said no, she was like, this is really impressive for somebody who's never been through something like that. And I don't want to like toot my own horn or anything. I don't want it to sound like that, but I guess it's just because I empathize a little too much sometimes. I also overanalyze, and I guess it helps in writing stuff like that because I'm able to understand how people feel and then really kind of make a character based on those feelings. And it ends up working out. People when I looked for feedback on One Last Memory, people were saying like this is the most accurate like post Sayori death mod I've ever seen, in terms of like how its feelings are and the reactions and the things that the MC does. Um, oh God, like do you know Etika?
Oh
Like, you
yeah.
remember Etika?
Yeah, of course.
Rest in peace, man.
Yeah.
Rest in
Joy-Con
peace.
boys forever. Hopefully there's some in there, but there's a that when he passed away, that felt like losing a friend. Because I had watched him so much, and I when you watch somebody streaming, and you stream, it's weird, but you do get there's a connection there. You get to know them, you get to talk to them, you get to interact with them, so you get to know them. So when he passed away, it was like losing a friend, and rest in peace. And I was able to really understand like and use that feeling, because I wanted to express that, because I didn't really know like how do you express that to somebody. It's hard to do that, so I use that in my writing. The scene where he calls Sayori and gets a voicemail, and like her voice answers and he hears her voice, that was based on a video that I saw when he had passed away, where friends were calling his phone and he answered, like his voicemail answered, and hearing his voice after he had passed on was, I mean, it's a hard feeling to describe, but it's something
Yeah.
that I was able to translate into writing, and I used it, and I don't want to come across like I'm using it like, oh, this is good content, no, it was out of respect
Inspiration
for
and respect, yeah.
that feeling, because that's a feeling that people probably go through a lot, but it just doesn't get talked about, and that was the idea there. That's what I wanted to do there. I didn't want to come across as insensitive or anything like that, but I used it because I just wanted to show that this is what happens. People can go through this stuff, and it needs to be talked about, because there's a lot of people that don't really get the chance to talk about these feelings with people. So that's why I put it in writing, because I didn't really get to talk about it. And there was also other scenes where there was a scene where there's like three just nameless dudes. I don't know if you remember, but they like talk bad about Sayori.
Yeah, I think I remember that scene.
Where
yeah.
they're like, oh, I would have made her depression go all the way, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Kermit, no.
I know, I started kind of doing the Kermit voice again, right?
I can't believe Kermit's such an asshole.
Oh my god.
But yeah, it was that was actually, that's how people are. People were saying like, oh, that's that's a little over the top, because it is.
It
like,
is. People are dicks like that.
Yes. I hung out with a lot of guys in high school, and when something like that would happen, they would crack jokes like that, and I would always be like, you're like, yo, that's messed up, man. But when you're around your friends, you laugh it off, because you don't want to seem like the oversensitive type.
You seem like the prude.
Yeah, but again, it's it's a very high school, middle school kind of thing, where you're just
Mentality,
insensitive to be funny. Like, haha, funny. But even back then, I knew like that's wrong, like talking about somebody like that. So I put that in the mod too, because it's something that people don't really talk about, but it it happens probably more often than most people would think. So a lot of the moments in One Last Memory that happen are moments that that people go through when they lose a friend. And even the Monica thing was like, there's like a little bit of a subplot there where she's kind of still self-aware, and she's realizing the effect that her actions have on the world, the game world. You can get into some meta stuff there, like, well, why didn't she do something else with the code? Why didn't she keep going with the manipulation? And well, I mean, to make a story, you kind of have to twist a couple little rules there in order to make the story work. So that's okay. That's fine.
Sense
But
of disbelief kind of has to.
yeah, you kind
Yeah.
of have to suspend your belief a little bit.
Yeah, suspend your belief.
So yeah, with Monica, I wanted her to kind of go through like a little bit of an arc where she kind of realizes that having Sayuri die was worse, and like, you know, it doesn't actually help her plans in any way. It just makes it harder. And yeah, I think normally she died and then she deleted her. The idea in One Last Memory is that she doesn't, and it keeps going,
Mhm.
and then she regrets it. That's the subplot there. I guess we can talk about that ending, huh? I remember that's what people talk about a lot, the ending. I remember people saying like it was super vague. Some people weren't too into it. Some people loved it. You know, I don't know if I want to explain it because
I
the
was about to
point
say,
of
I
it
feel
is
like
to not.
explaining it is kind of defeats because it definitely felt like it was one of those you get what you take away from that ending, from what I'm able
Yeah.
to see.
Yeah, it was ambiguous for a reason.
Yeah.
Elvis Likes Tube is asking, did MC die? I don't know. What do you think?
Hey, you make your own hypothesis on what you think happened at the end.
It's an easy way to be a cop out. It can feel like a cop out in some ways. But it's easy to assume because in the CG, she's got a halo, she's got angel wings, and he's also got angel wings. The background is very ethereal, blue clouds. Blue clouds, what the hell? Blue sky, white clouds. You know, it's
Mhm.
that's the implication. But honestly, you can think otherwise, and you can think that it's just a dream, and it still works. So really, you can think whatever you want.
You
about
could
that-
think
that
that's
Ending
her.
scene there.
You could think that that's her comforting him and him accept her, quote unquote, comforting him and him accepting that she's gone.
Yeah.
And that's.
I will
just
say
like-
this though, a little bit of a more meta thing here. Let it affect your idea of the ending or not. All of the assets used in that specific scene, and there's only just a couple. The nighttime bedroom, the nighttime walk, and then Sayori's bedroom at night. Those are all assets from the original Salvation. That's all I'm going to say about that. But I've had some people say that it actually affects how they see the ending once they learn that. So, you know, there you go. But, you know, One Last Memory as a whole, in terms of its development, was a very, very pleasant experience. It was so fun. Because it was just me and I believe Agent Gold is the name he goes by. And he helped me with the coding. I think he was able to kind of really have some fancy effects going on. We had like some blinking animations. Of course, this was before MPT. So, you know, I'm sure all that is possible now. But this was, you know, we had blinking animations, different expressions, expressions changing in between dialogue. You know, little quality of life changes there. We had the colored text boxes. It was a very, it was so, like, compared to Salvation's development, it was a breath of fresh air, and it was fun the whole way through. And it was one of those things that was like, it made me realize, like, you know what, like, if I ever did this again, at least I know that it would be fun, because I know how these things go now. I know how I'd be able to handle things now, and I'd probably be able to have a good time if I ever did it again. So, One Last Memory is still, I still adore how that mod came out. I love how everything came out, and it's such an opposite feeling from Salvation, where going back to Salvation hurts me physically. I'm like, "Ah!" when I see some of those lines. But with One Last Memory, I love going back to that one and seeing people react to it. And it's a shame that it's as underrated as it is, because it is. People do not talk about this one.
Oh yeah, they definitely. Which is weird because arguably, I feel like this one also, One Last Memory also kind of started a trend of the of the mods that take place after Sayori dies. 'Cause
Really?
there's a lot of those too, and
I
it's,
thought that there were a lot before One Last Memory.
I think it's a concept that grew after One Last Memory, but it was a concept a lot of people had, but never went anywhere really with it. But then it was like, I feel like One Last Memory, I'm not gonna like it was like the main, it wasn't like the other one where, it wasn't like Salvation where I could definitely point to that being the start of the whole MC walking in the hanging. I feel like One Last Memory probably assisted in the jumping of a lot, like the boost of a lot of those mods. Because, I mean, if anything, I guess attributed to why One Last Memory is so good, it's like, I'm a little hesitant to play mods that follow that same exact formula just because I feel like One Last Memory kind of did what I expected to be handled with it, to where it's like, I don't know if I want to play something like it again.
Yeah.
And then I'm just kind of sitting there like, this is just like what I did with this. Like,
yeah. And that's why I'm a firm believer of an idea can be overdone to hell and back, but it's more about execution.
oh, of course.
Because like there's so many ideas, like in movies people are doing the same ideas, but execution is what really makes it entertaining or makes it good, engaging. Tropes, like Emperor King of MDK just said, tropes are not bad. If anything, they can help, because it can help a reader kind of get familiar with the kind of story you're telling. And then there's also nothing wrong with them comparing it to other works, because that can also help you improve. That can be used as a form of criticism. As long as you know how to take it, and as long as they do it right too.
Of course.
So it's a very it's a weird line to to cross there, with the whole overused ideas thing, because like you said, the Sayori post Sayori death thing, that's a lot harder to do when something has already been done well enough to where players don't see a reason to play anything like it. Like you have to be die hard for that kind of concept to play.
You have to really
more
love
of that
concept.
Yeah, because I feel like it's more because it's a heavy concept, and it's not like something where, like salvation, the idea of salvation can kind of go a lot of different ways. You can have the same kind of concept of salvation, but then not have Monica be self-aware, and then kind of take a more slice of life side stories kind of approach. Or you can have the same concept, but then make it with Yuri, make it with Natsuki, make it with Monica.
Or hell, Sayori doesn't even have to die.
Yeah, you can do it with different, ways. It's all about execution. As opposed to with something like the Sayori, post Sayori thing, where you can do that, but you'd have to do something very different now to really make it something that's worth playing.
That's kind of my issue. It's like I kind of need, if I were to play a mod like that again, I feel like they would have to present a very like unique idea to that to that concept to make me be like, okay, I'll play this. I'm curious to see where this goes now.
Here's an idea for anybody who's looking for one. You can take it. Do like a what's the thing with it? It's like a Konosuba, that genre of anime.
Isekai? Is that Isekai? No.
Yeah, that.
Oh,
do that. Yeah, do that where she dies, and it's the same story beats, but then something crazy happens. MC gets transferred to a different world, and she's there. And it'll be like a big reunion, but then they're gonna try to figure out like, how did we get into this world?
Yeah.
And you can do something with that. That's
unique
what I think. Already.
That's what I think I wanted people to do. I wanted like more mods to be, if you want to take place after Sayori's death, how about make it that the main plot isn't that she died? Like make it that there is a side plot, but one of the points is dealing with Sayori's death. It's like I feel like it shouldn't be the main focus anymore, because I feel like a lot of people have already done that and been through that. That's like I feel like that'd be a unique thing.
There you go. There's an idea. If anybody wants to hop on that, good luck. Let's see. But honestly, really, don't be afraid to do an idea that's already been done before,
No, but of
because you
course,
never
yeah.
know. You never know. It can end up being one of the best of the best in that, like, little genre there. There's a lot you can do, and I was, for a while, honestly, I was under the impression that everything that could be done with this game has already been done.
A lot of
And maybe
people
that's
say that,
true.
and then a lot of people say that. I think I even thought that at one point, and then people consistently prove me wrong, and I'm like, well, I guess
Yeah,
that is true.
I've been proven wrong too. Yeah,
Yeah.
and maybe to an extent it's true in terms of maybe just the ideas. But you can do a lot with these characters.
Just
You know,
gotta get
like,
creative.
if you want to completely change up, don't even make it about what the original was anymore. Just use the characters and put them in a wacky situation.
Those are some of my like favorite because like that's really all you gotta do. It's like if as long as you keep the characters the same, all you gotta do is put them in a weird ass situation, and it will probably make for a good story.
Yeah, I've seen I knew a guy that, I don't know whatever happened in this. It was one where he was just like, okay, but what if they transferred to Imperial Japan in 1942?
Oh yeah,
And
that
I'm like,
got
"Huh?
canceled.
That was a thing? Was that a thing?
Well, actually, wait, no, not that. No, I'm thinking of another one that I probably should not bring up on stream.
Oh god.
It was about the girls getting transferred to something, a very dark part in history, and it was like, I think it got like instantly shut down by the subreddit though, because everyone was like, what the fuck, why?
Was it taking place during any point in America's history between the 1910s and the 1970s?
It was more of the other part of the world's history, and not truly America. It was a Vietnam. I think it was taking place like.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I think we'll just leave it at that. I was like, oh no, that's not good. We should not do that. Now you're going a little too out of the box. You're going in a different box that we shouldn't even open.
Monica, the trees are speaking.
It's a box we shouldn't even go in. Let's just leave that box alone. Yeah,
Oh,
but yeah,
God.
definitely. Like, think outside the box. Of course, like I said, my mod is probably the one that my whole goal was just to keep them in character, and I was like, they go to school. School happens in Persona. This might work, but then I also didn't want to make it fully. Okay, but now it's Persona, so I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna make it my own type of story, and now, if anything, it's more like Spider-Man than Persona.
Spider-Man.
It's more based off that than Persona half the time. I'm getting more inspiration from that.
You've seen the movie. Have you guys seen the movie?
I have not seen the new movie yet.
Oh my god, have you been able to avoid spoilers?
I've been spoiled by like one thing. But it was something that I was kind of like, okay, I figured. But then more people have told me there's still so much shit in that movie that one thing I was spoiled about ultimately doesn't even matter that much. So I'm like, okay, well, that's good. So I still have a reason to watch it. And I haven't been spoiled about anything else. Yeah.
The movie's a blast. You gotta see it when you get the time.
Yeah, definitely.
I won't spoil it. I will not do that. I am not that kind of man.
That would be the worst first guest if it just spoiled Spider-Man for me.
I guess we were talking about the you said like kind of like how Salvation kind of started a trend a little bit.
Mhm.
Since I left the community, I have no idea. Like, I kind of have an idea, but honestly, I have no idea to the extent of how much of an impact that mod had on people and like, the mods that are made.
Every time I see people because it's the modding subreddit, so you always got new people showing up and wanting to play more mods or asking you always, because ever since I think DDLC Plus, the community has been more loud because people have been joining more, or people have been coming back. People have been coming back, and more people have been joining. So such have been having people ask what mod should I play and all this other stuff. And if people ever say Sayori, or if they ever say it was Salvation is always at least somewhere in the comments.
Huh.
when it comes
I
to
never
like
knew
a
that.
Sayori focus mod, or even sometimes not even Sayori focus. Sometimes people just say like, "What's a mod for me to play?" Salvation is usually brought up.
Wow, that's pretty cool. I had no idea.
It's
Wow,
definitely one of the popular ones.
that's awesome. In a really weird sort of way, but yeah. Why not one last memory though?
Yeah, then you get the really based ones that are like play one last memory, but those are very very few. I don't think barely see people recommend it, which is kind of upsetting.
I will say I think I'm kind of glad that it didn't blow up as much as Salvation because I was afraid of the same kind of feelings of anxiety kind of eventually kicking in, saying like, wait a minute, like I don't deserve the praise, I don't deserve all that. I've eased up a little bit. Now I'm kind of like, wait, I kind of want people to play this. But
wait, talk about it, guys.
but it's still more like I don't want to be like super popular or anything. It's not for me. I don't like really being in the spotlight. That's not my thing. It kind of freaks me out a little bit. But it would be nice for it to get more appreciation because I really enjoyed making it. And I mean, I guess the little praise that it does get, I mean, well, no, I'm not saying it gets a little bit, it gets a lot, just not as widespread. It's nice. Like, it's really nice to see, people that loved it, people that consider it to be one of their favorites. And it's weird, it becomes a lot more meaningful when it's less people. And I don't really know how to explain that. It just kind of is. But yeah, that's I guess that's one last memory. That's really all I had to say about that one. I don't know if the chat has any questions regarding that one specifically.
Do you guys have any one last memory specific questions? Or I'll give you guys like have you ever heard of this? I have not. I've never played it. I've never played One Last Memory.
Oh, here we go. There's a question. Brownie Maker asks, I was wondering what your inspiration was for this scene near the end. Well, oh god, the chat's scrolling. The chat. How do I stop? Oh, sorry. I was wondering what your inspiration was for the scene near the end with the trail of flower petals leading towards Sayori's house. It seems my personal favorite. Well, roses are my favorite flower, and look at my profile picture. It's Komi-san with a rose. So roses are my favorite flower. Absolutely, they give me power. That was, I mean, the rose was a symbol throughout the mod. Kind of wanted it to be because it was my mod and it was my way of expressing myself. So the rose was just a symbol that I kind of wanted to have in there. So the trail of flower petals kind of represents, because in the mod it's implied that Monica left the rose for Sayori. So the flower petals it's not as deep as probably as it might seem. It was just kind of Monica kind of leaving the breadcrumbs for him to follow, so she can get him to where he wants to be, to where she wants him to be. So it's sorry if it's not as deep as you probably maybe wanted it to be, but yeah, that's just that's the extent of that. It's just a symbol that I really enjoyed using, and it's just there. That's what it is. Elvis asks, "Where's the second to last memory?" Coming in 1942. Okay.
It's actually coming next month, February 30th. Ooh.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's a much better joke than what I said.
Yeah.
All right. What are some of the things you learn to creative writing class that you apply to One Last Memory? Scene descriptions, character interactions, and internal dialogue. Internal dialogue was a thing that creative writing taught me and was able to implement into One Last Memory. If you directly compare Salvation's writing style to One Last Memory, there is a clear difference between the two. And it's that is what I learned from creative writing. Was just, it's hard to kind of pinpoint the exact improvements that I made because I don't remember, I forgot, but it's one of those things where I kind of just do it. I don't really think about it. So but what I can think of off the top of my head would be character interactions, internal dialogue, and describing things is what I improved on the most, thanks to my creative writing class. Let's see. What made you come up with the idea for it? I said it at the beginning. What if it was salvation, but the opposite? That's it.
Reverse.
Yeah. Okay, so back to this guy's question. I remember this question. Emperor Kim of MDK. My favorite scene in One Last Memory. The Yuri scene where he talks to Yuri and she kind of says everything that she's experienced, like what Sayori taught her. She starts saying how like Sayori taught me to be the best version of myself, and it's important to love yourself and all that. And that was my favorite scene to write. That one made people cry, and I think I even was like getting emotional writing it, and it's like, this is my own writing. What the hell is happening to me? But yeah, that one I enjoyed writing that one a lot. That one was my favorite scene for sure. Let's see. I love Komi-san. Mario649, you're the GOAT. All right, let's see. If gave you a rose right now, would you turn into a god? Yes.
There you go.
Let's see. Elvis says the trail of flower petals shows the path to the afterlife. Yeah, I guess that works. I didn't come up with that. you can
There you go.
use that. There you go. Not really DDLC related, but I have to ask, Shuku or Shoko? I mean, look at my freaking profile picture, dude. Who do you think? Let's see. I've got one more question. How do you see yourself going forward after all your writing so far? Well, if you remember, in Salvation, I made a little note at the end saying that I was going to pursue other interests. I'm doing art now. That was the other interest. It took me a while to kind of realize that art is something that I've actually really wanted to do. But I started art, and that's kind of where I see myself going, in terms of my hobbies. Obviously, I'm going to college. I'm studying clinical lab science. Probably going to just be, either a lab scientist or work in forensics. Still figuring that part out. But in terms of my hobbies, it would be, writing is always going to be there. I think I've done enough to where I'd probably be a little rusty if I gave it a shot now. But maybe making my own like comic series, maybe. I don't know. Obviously, I'd have to get better at art and then kind of figure out how to turn that into writing, kind of put those two together. But yeah, that's really where I see myself going there. Let's see. He said Shosuke. I mean, he's cool. He's just a guy, Komi. He's all right. Let's see.
Nailed.
Was it hard to write some of the scenes for One Last Memory? Honestly, no. Other than maybe the Yuri one, where I did get, a little bit emotional or whatever. No, it wasn't, because I was just expressing myself. It was just putting my feelings in writing, and that's all it was. It wasn't difficult. It wasn't hard. It was just, putting my feelings on the paper. Let's see. Is MC dead or is he alive when Monica made Trail? Not gonna answer that. That's up to you.
Answer that.
That's up for you to decide, man. Let's see. That's the second version of that question. Wait a minute. Did I go up, or are people asking questions again? Oh, people are asking questions again. Okay, I'm getting confused.
All right, chat. You guys got 3 more.
All right, three more. Okay, so let's see. I see a few here. My favorite mod. Ooh, that's an interesting question. Because I've only played 3. And 2 of them are my own.
So, what's the only mod you've played?
Blue Skies.
Bro, Swampert.
Yeah. That was being developed in tandem with Salvation, so it was we kind of became like buddies in that regard, And
Your
yeah,
favorite
it took
one by
like twice
default.
as long to come out, but
Yeah.
we became good friends over the course of that development. My name is in the credits, I helped out with the mod a couple
Bro,
times.
I think
so, yeah.
I think I did point out when your name was in the credits when I saw it, because I think I also saw my name in the credits and I was like, oh my god, there's me. And like I said,
Yeah,
there's Gizzy.
You know, it felt like that one, you know, that little, oh, I looked over to the stream and I saw somebody ask, "Do you see that small vent on the floor?"
Oh my god.
Ding 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 ding. All right. Um, let me see. So, yeah, Blue Skies was I didn't do much. I kind of helped correct a couple lines in the code, but I guess it was enough to earn my name in the credits. So yeah, you know, it's nice to kind of be associated with that project.
I
And
mean, all I did was play the demo, and I apparently was enough to get in the credits.
you know what? I lied. That's
Oh.
not true. It's not. I played the Brand New Day in its infancy. I played Monica After Story in its infancy, and then I played Rain Clouds in its entirety. So it was before I got into modding. I played those 3 mods, and I guess that's why I don't really consider it part of the group, because you know, I the only mod that I played after making a mod was Blue Skies. That was
I mean, they count. 'Cause, I mean, Rain Claws didn't really change anything, and Brand New Day, that's just the old version of the mod.
Yeah.
So.
But then back to the original question. Then my favorite mod, I mean, it's Blue Skies, man.
I was just say, I was like, but then not only that is you're making Rain Clouds fight Blue Skies. It just feels like a bear fighting a little tiny rabbit. Like, like obviously
Yeah,
Blue Skies is
it's,
gonna win that.
Yeah, the Yuri route is some of my favorite content that, like fan content that exists. I love the Yuri route in that mod. I just love the way it's written. And I think it's because it also, like, I don't think it's something that I can do. Yuri's my favorite. She is one of the most difficult characters to write. And that's just me. I don't know if it's just because of the way she speaks. I don't know if it's just because of her personality, but oh my god, she's hard to write. I'm not sure why.
People definitely, yeah. Everyone's got like their struggles and the care when it comes to writing people when it comes to writing them. Because sometimes you don't want to fall into you don't want to Flanderize them where you're like. Where you make it where it's like, oh, Yuri's just shy, can't speak girl, right? Like she can't even form a sentence, and it's like not all the time. Yuri's been able to talk normally, guys.
yeah. It's like, imagine if I started writing her like Komi, like that'd be weird.
Yuri just physically just does not talk to anyone.
Yeah. Let's see. This isn't a question, so I'm not gonna count this as part of the 3. I know I've got 2 more, but it's just one of the things that got me in the last scene for One Last Memory was the music. Honestly, don't know why, but it did. That is from one of my favorite animes called Girls Last Tour.
Oh.
Fully recommend it. Holy moly, it's beautiful. It's the best way I can describe it. It's beautiful, you know, like sadness or beautiful hopelessness. It is just the feelings that show gives me is like unlike anything else. It's crazy. I love the way that show made me feel. Highly recommend it. So yeah, that's where that music came from. Let's see. Here's Roded's question. I know Roded, and he's asking, when DDLC Plus came out, what are the similarities, if there were any, you found between the side stories and your mod? I'm gonna tell y'all right now. I did not play the side stories. And
Oh yeah, he already told me that.
Not saying they're bad. It's personally just it's not my thing. Here's a little fun fact about me. I don't like visual novels. I know. It's
so I
crazy,
made a
right?
mod of a visual novel, right? But I hate visual novels.
And one of my favorite forms of media is one, which is Kato Shoujo. But as a whole, I don't like them because I get bored. I guess because like it's like I can appreciate the music, I can appreciate the pictures and all that, but I can't. I've got a short attention span, you know. I can't. I gotta be playing something. I gotta be, you know. There was a funny like GIF that I've seen where it's somebody like playing on a controller, and it's like visual novel fans when, you know, playing mashing A for 60 hours.
Bro, I gotta get in there.
Yeah, it's just more. It's not that they're bad. I'm sure that there's great ones that I'm missing out on. It's just not my thing. And when I found out that the side stories weren't really anything that I liked from the original,
Yeah,
like,
there's no
you know, the
horror if
glitches,
that-
the
yeah,
spooky
yeah,
stuff,
if
you know.
if your favorite thing was the horror, then yeah, you won't really like the side stories. They're more for if you
Yeah.
just enjoy the characters, which was something I really liked about DDLC.
And then going back to Rodit's question, the similarities that I found between Salvation and side stories was honestly way more than I expected. A lot of like the interactions that they have is very similar to my idea of those characters as well. And that's why I kind of didn't really feel the need to play it, because I felt like I had already done that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, not the exact concept, obviously, that it's completely different concepts, but the similarities where, you know, with the characters, their interactions is something that, like, well, I don't really see a need to go back to this because I've already kind of experienced it myself. You know, I wrote it, you know. So the similarities specifically would be, you know, the slice of life stuff, them kind of growing closer with each other. Like, that's all stuff that I found similar and kind of contributed to the reason why I really haven't really bothered checking them out. The only one that I did check out was the Monica and Sayori one, which is that's pretty good, but I kind of really didn't see a reason to keep going. Again, not saying they were bad. I'm sure they're great.
They are.
It's just it's not my thing. Maybe I'll check it out when, you know, I really want to, and I miss the game and I miss the characters. But it's hard to miss the characters when, you know,
They keep being here. Go away.
yeah. And then obviously I've written for them for so long, you know, they're just kind of always there. So yeah, and then more on the meta side of things, I actually had to talk to one of the legal team. I believe his name is Mithost, because there was a little bit of an issue. Like, okay, wait a minute, because in the side stories, there's like they call themselves Team Salvation, and I was like,
yeah,
uh-oh.
there's the lore part of Plus. There's like these little documents, yeah, and they're called
Yeah.
Team Salvation and the thing. So I was like, uh-oh.
I actually had to talk to Midhost about any potential, like, because, you know, people who don't know are gonna look up Team Salvation. You know, they're just gonna look that up. My mod's probably gonna show up, or they'll put DDLC Salvation.
Yeah, Salvation.
My mod shows up.
Yeah. I was like, uh-oh.
So yeah, I had to talk to Midhost about that, saying like, hey, you know, like, what am I gonna do? And he's like, oh, nothing. Just make sure that you kind of clarify that you're not associated with Team Salvato at all, to avoid any you know, legal things. I am not affiliated with Team Salvato, guys. If that wasn't clear already.
What? You got on this interview only because of this. Get him out of here.
It was kind of like a little bit of like a smack. I was like, huh? I was like, with Team Salvation, huh? What? Because Salvation had always been something that I associated with me.
Mhm.
So seeing it in an official capacity was really weird. I was like, oh no. I was like, I honestly got a little scared. I was like, wait a minute. What if like I start seeing like plot points that are exactly from my mod, and it's like, uh-oh, did they like steal? But it's like, nah, that didn't happen. It was just it was a coincidence. But yeah, there you go. That answers that question. So I guess that leaves one more, right?
Yeah. Wait, before you answer that one though, there was something you were talking about. You said you were playing the side stories, and you were like, because the fact that you say that makes me feel like a lot of people had that like view. Because I know I did when we were playing the side stories. Me and Monica were. It was like we were seeing them interact and stuff, and there were so many times where I was like, "Oh my god, we wrote them correctly." Where I was like, "Oh my god,
like
I did that right." Like it was like really like. I guess nice to like have some weird confirmation to be like, oh my gosh, I actually have the characters right. To like see them actually act the way you expected them to.
Yeah, I never know how to explain that to people, but you put it exactly right. It was cathartic to kind of see like, okay, Dan has the exact same idea that I had for these characters. There were a couple weird little things that I wasn't expecting. Yuri kind of being blunt.
Everyone,
With,
I think
good
everyone
jokes.
says that because I was about to say that too. Yuri's bluntness, I was not expecting, but it's
That
so
one was
good.
weird. But yeah, I've heard that one works out. And little details, their favorite ice cream flavors.
That one.
Natsuki being like a BuzzFeed quiz taker nerd, whatever.
Fucking, she has hentai. It is confirmed
She's
that
Wait,
she.
hasn't
confirmed?
Yeah,
hasn't
she-
written hentai, isn't that?
Yeah, no,
confirmed?
there's no. She's written fan fiction, but it's
Oh,
at one point in the club, Sayori's looking through her collection, and Sayori's like, "What's this one?" And she's like, "Wait, Sayori, don't read that one." And she it's very
Oh,
heavily
okay.
implied that Natsuki has very adult manga.
No, that's funny.
Mhm.
That's a
So
good
it's like,
detail.
oh.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And then I guess Monica not really being the confident girl that a lot of people really thought she was. She's kind of she struggles a lot with that.
That
And that
fake
self-confidence.
Yeah,
and
that
a
was
lot of
always
fake
like
confidence.
hinted at in the base game, so yeah, it's really cool to see it actually
Yeah.
actually put driven upon. I thought that was really cool.
And that was good. So there's stuff to like there, and the little details. And so I look forward to. I say I look forward to it. I'm not gonna check any of it out, but I hope that people are able to do more with that now that there's more to work
Yes.
off of.
Yeah.
I have been just having a field day with the
Yeah.
side stories after reading them
Me
because I've
too.
been like, oh my god, after hearing that, I think that's why I've been making more little custom mods on my channel, because I've been sitting here well, now that I know all this shit, I can make so much stories and stuff with these characters now that I can
Yeah.
fully know, now that they've been fully fleshed out.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's pretty cool that it exists, but I guess I could have wanted more. I don't know. I guess more. I guess Libitina had been being teased for years,
Mm-hmm.
and then finding out that the only new content that we got after all those years was just slice of life stuff. I mean, it was a little disappointing.
I mean,
For
I
me.
think it was the way it was. The problem could definitely have been people overhyping it, because from what I can tell from what Dan was talking about, the main point of DDLC Plus was just to port the game to consoles. It was just supposed to be a DDLC port, but now people can play it on the console. So it feels like the side stories were supposed to just be extra little pieces, because he even says it's a thank you to the community. So it feels
Yeah.
like the side stories were really just supposed to be extra little bits of content for us to have. It's like a beach episode.
Yeah, basically, which is also interesting because DDLC was supposed to be a satirization
Mhm.
of the genre. So it was kind of weird to kind of see him kind of fall back on that and just be like, you know what? Here you go. You get a real one.
I think it was because it was he sees how many people started treating them
Yeah.
like actual anime characters, so he was like, well, fuck it, I mean, see what happens.
Yeah.
Go with the flow.
There's All right. So one more question, right? Got one more question
Yeah, I
for
think,
you.
yeah. I think one
If
more.
there even is one. Wait, hold on.
Everyone's just talking now.
Let's see. Okay, there's this one. I'll answer this one.
Alright.
What aspects do you think makes a good / bad DDLC mod? Yeah, I can talk about that. Characterization is
Oh,
probably
it's mine
something
too.
that can really make or break a mod for me personally, but I'm sure a lot of other people can agree with that.
Me.
Exit music. While I never played exit music, I heard summaries of exit music, and I heard how people talk about it, and the mischaracterization of the other characters is like, I understand wanting to make them different, but there is, for me, in my opinion, there is such thing as making them a little bit too different to the point where it's just jarring to see them do things that you never would have expected them to do. I guess an example that I can be is so Yuri in the side stories was shown to be super into D&D, right?
Mhm.
So screw it. Somebody can make a mod where she's super into video games, and it kind of still wouldn't really be too out of place because she's kind of already into that sort of genre,
Yeah.
especially if the video games are stuff like Dark Souls,
Skyrim.
Zelda,
yeah.
Skyrim. that works, but it's not like it's still something different that you're doing with the character. There is such thing as doing too much, and then it gets to a point where it's just jarring and it's just weird, and
now
it takes
Yuri's
you
a
out of the story.
whore. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh.
You know, if you want to do something with that concept, maybe do a build up to something like that. Maybe
Yeah.
you know, build up
Slow
to it. Don't
burn.
just if you just switch it up cold turkey like that, it can be very jarring and really immersion breaking. Doesn't that, you know, a lot of people can enjoy that. And I'm not saying it can't be enjoyed by people. People can, you know, they like that stuff. But that's one thing. The super obvious answer would be writing. If your writing sucks, it's going to turn off a lot of people. I know for one that broken grammar can really take people out of a mod.
Yeah.
Especially typos. Good God, Salvation's got a lot of those. I remember a specific one because when I was reading or when I was watching a playthrough of it, it made me cry with laughter. Instead of her arms, it said hair arms. And
Huh?
it killed me, man. And it was like, how did I let such a bad typo slip? But it was hilarious, and I think that was the time when I realized, you know what, I'm learning to laugh at my own work, at my own mistakes, because you know that's what you got to do, man. But it's really immersion breaking because you know it can be a imagine a super serious scene, and then you have a typo where it just says like instead of pool, it says poop. You know. It's gonna destroy immersion.
She dives into the poop. Uh-oh.
Yeah, so it's gonna be like it's one of those things where you gotta be you honestly have to take the time to really polish that stuff out if you want people to get immersed in your story because it can take you out. Let's see. In terms of DDLC mods, the overuse of jump scares can also affect
if you're making a
people's
horror
enjoyments.
mod, yeah.
Horror mods are hard to do. I will
Yeah.
say that because it's hard to do things that are new, and it's also really hard to subvert expectations, especially when you're making mods for an already horror game.
Yeah.
So I would say honestly, either just like don't do the loud noise flashing image kind of thing. Maybe stick to, if you want to do horror, stick to stuff that's more subtle. You know, have some static show up on the screen, have a little bit of interference sound effects come up. You know, stuff that's subtle that can be like, whoa, but it won't take somebody out because they're like, oh, another jump scare, you know, oh, whatever. That would be like one of the things that can make and break a mod. They also asked, I guess, the good parts of a mod. I mean, just take what I said,
Do the opposite.
make it good. Do the opposite. Yeah. Yeah, because you know you don't have an over reliance on new music, new art, you know, stuff like that, because you know that's hard. And yeah, people, you know, are probably gonna, you know, there's some people that are super critical, like, oh, if this doesn't have new stuff, I'm out. You know,
don't listen to those people.
Yeah, don't worry about that. You know,
those people
make the
are
story
weird.
you want to make, and you know, there's also a lot of assets that are available for the community to use. You know, don't be afraid to use those. You know, make the story that you want to make. Just make sure that you give it time. Don't rush it. Don't, you know, and then, you know, once it's out there and you get criticism, you know, you can learn from that, and don't get discouraged when people really don't like it, because that happens. Not everyone's gonna like your stuff.
There's gonna be somebody out there who'll like it.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess that's really it on that. So now what?
That is a good question. I mean, how long? Oh, we've been going for 2 hours and 22.
That's a pretty decent. I don't know. I kind of got everything off my chest there.
Yeah.
Talked about side stories. Talked about the mod.
Got all the questions answered. That was a pretty good. Yeah, it was pretty good.
I guess the only thing really would be talking about like the future, but I'm just drawing. You guys want to follow me on Twitter?
Oh, yeah, you can
Give me a
plug your
follow.
you can plug your Twitter and everything. If you
Oh,
want
can
to,
I?
yeah.
Can I?
Yeah,
Can I?
you can. Yeah, go ahead.
Woo! Okay. Wait, hold on. I'm not the best yet. I'm not the best artist yet, but I'm trying to be.
Let me-
I'm practicing. Give me like 2 years. I'll hopefully I'll be better. Yeah, I did make a. That's true. I made a fan art for Salvation. That's something that, like, that was like a dream of mine. I've always wanted to make fan art for Salvation. Where do I put it in the chat?
Yeah, you can put, yeah, because I just turned off link protection, so Sayori bot shouldn't kill you if you put it in there.
There we go.
Yeah.
There I am. I think.
Oh wait, that's
Wait, no. That's just Twitter. How do you?
I got it. That's just the fucking Twitter homepage. That's Twitter. So
Let me see. Well, that's step 1.
yeah.
In case you don't know how to use Twitter.
Yeah, first you gotta go on Twitter.
Okay. Hold on. Let me see. I don't do this often. That's why. I'm so sorry.
I sent it, but you can send it again if you want to.
Oh, you did? You posted it?
Yeah, I posted your Twitter, but you can send it again if you want.
Okay, that's all good. Yeah, so yeah, when I made my own Salvation art, it was that was fun. It felt really nice. It wasn't the first time I'd done it. I'd done this a time before, but you know, it's nice to make fan art for something that, you know, I worked really hard on a couple of years ago, and it's just really, I mean, that's my way to show like my appreciation for all the memories and the good times, because there were good times. You know, it wasn't all bad. But yeah, it's fun, and I appreciate the support. Chat, can I call them chat? I feel like I'm like, I feel like I'm not allowed to.
No. They're chat to everybody
That's-
who shows up on the stream.
Yeah, they're chat.
All right.
They don't have
chat.
any other name.
They don't go by anything else. They're
It
chat.
feels like they're all like one collective soul. You
They
know?
are.
Like,
They just don't agree with each other sometimes, and sometimes there's intermingling, and then that's when the Sayori bot has to show up and tell them to stop
Yeah.
it.
yeah. So yeah, I appreciate the follows, guys. That's really nice. I don't post. And expect to see a certain character on your timelines. I do not hold back when I start retweeting Komi art. So hopefully y'all don't have a problem with that. Which you know what, I'm gonna take this opportunity now. Watch the anime. Watch it. Everyone in this chat needs to watch it.
Does
It
that
is so
include
good.
us?
Yes, it does. We're gonna watch
Alright,
it.
Zero.
That includes us? Oh damn.
Oh, COVID.
Oh,
Oh
no.
no.
Oh.
Alright. I'm good.
You can't say that. We have to say the Backstreet Boys concert. We don't want to get
Yeah.
taken down.
I meant
Even if though you actually are recovering from that.
yeah, that's true. I am. Oh yeah, I didn't mention that on stream,
Yeah,
did I?
yeah. You
Oops.
mentioned it to like us. You mentioned it to
Yeah.
us before we started streaming. So yeah, I guess they didn't actually know that. Also, just for clarification, I did not make him do the interview while he was sick. I even told him that we can reschedule and everything. It was his decision.
No, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. Honestly, for anybody that hasn't had it yet in the chat, I will tell you right now. The vaccine helped with the symptoms. Made it kind of easier to deal with. The worst part, honestly, for me right now is the lack of taste. Oh my god.
Yeah.
When you
The
can't taste
inability
food.
to like taste a donut or a cookie is the most depressing experience I've ever had.
I've seen
is,
people. I've seen videos of people like who have it bite into raw onions and be like, "No, don't feel anything," and like drink vinegar and be like, "No, don't feel anything," and I'm like, "What the
Yeah,
fuck?"
it's kind of nuts, and not everyone has it. Not everyone's gonna get that symptom, but it's also not unique to COVID. You can get it when you just get a cold. You know. what I mean?
Yeah, I've had it before,
way
but
the-
usually mine is like weird because like I'll get it when I have a cold, but then if I blow my nose, my taste will come back.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I should do that.
Who knows? Maybe something will happen.
There's honestly, I might even like kind of do my own research on that, because there's things that like some cells get destroyed, and those cells were related to the olfactory senses, all that weird biology stuff. There's a lot that can cause it, but doesn't change how much it sucks. Sucks. I hate it.
Mhm.
So I hope it goes away soon because I'm trying to get Wingstop, but like I'm not trying to get Wingstop and then have like bland wings. You know what I mean?
And you're sitting there like, why did I do this?
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna go back to Salvation for a little bit because there is something that I wanted to mention. Do you remember the bad ending, or did you ever check it out?
I do remember the bad ending. Yeah, I think we did get the bad ending right. Yeah.
That was like super last minute half-assed.
It
Like,
definitely, you could have definitely got that
Dude,
impression.
the best way that I can describe it, I don't know if you've seen this video. I don't remember the name of the movie, but the video was like a guy like comes out, shoots him with a rocket launcher, he blows up, and the movie ends there.
What?
Have you seen? Okay, I gotta find this video. And it ends there, and then like there's just text that says, "This guy went on to live a life or whatever," and it's just a summary of the characters because I guess they just ran out of budget. I was this close to making it exactly like that. Just a line of text saying, "The club ended, and they're all sad now." Because it was just so like I was like, you know what? We gotta have a bad ending. We gotta have one. But problem is I don't remember the movie. Let me see. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna find this. Just take my word for it.
It sounds amazing.
But yeah, it was one of those like super low budget movies. I wish I could remember the name, but I was thinking of of doing something like that. But yeah, the bad ending was she shoots herself. That whole scene, really, actually, I didn't really get to talk about that, did I?
Oh,
That whole scene where she has a gun. And the
Yeah.
gun happens to be a World War II gun.
Yeah, that gun. And if I remember, like anyone's negativity, or at least anybody's problems, including me, if anyone had any problems with Salvation, it was usually that scene, because they were like, that one just kind of boosted out of nowhere.
I'm gonna defend myself here.
Oh.
That was not written by me.
Okay. Gonna defend myself was not my problem.
I had to fix it. It was way worse before.
Oh God.
Oh my god.
The guy that wrote it is a gun nut.
Oh,
Oh.
not gonna lie, those are like the people like I have like a rant about like gun nuts because for some reason I can just mention like a gun or something and be like, I don't really care, it's a gun, and they'll be like, well, Zero, well, what gun is that? I need to know all the specifications. And I'm sitting here like, it's a pistol. Like, what? You need me to tell you like all this shit? Like, it's just a like. They'll be like, this guy doesn't know all this stuff about the gun. I'm like, I don't. It's like, what do you want me to do?
I'll tell you this right now. I'm one of those.
Yeah.
I do like them, but I will not get on somebody's case if they don't know the weapon.
That's
because
all I
honestly,
ask.
I don't know all of them either. Like, like somebody can mention, oh, this is a Sig Sauer 45. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. If it looks cool, it looks cool.
Yeah, that's all. It's like, come on, man.
Most of the ones that I know are just because of video games, and usually because I played a lot of Call of Duty. So it's the ones that everybody knows. The 1911, the M1 Garand, AK-47, MP40, MP5. The really, really, I know those and I recognize them, and I call them out when I see it. But like, it's freaking Call of Duty, man. Like there's a lot of people that like act like they know everything just because they play Call of Duty.
Yeah,
and
it's because
like,
they COD.
No, I like guns. I live in Texas. How can I not? But it's I'm not super crazy about them. Where I'm like, if somebody calls like if they just call the gun a wrong name, or they call it whatever, just like, oh, this is a pistol, I'm not gonna be like, well, actually, this is the
I'm like, that's a rifle. They're like, oh, Zero, it's actually no, it's still a rifle.
yeah. Like people get really pissy about like AR-15s, when people say like, oh, that's an AR-15, and then they say like, oh, AR-15, I don't even know what the hell's up with that. A gun is a gun. It shoots, whatever. But back to the Salvation stuff. The guy was the hardcore gun nut, and he was getting super into like, well, okay, so since they're all like, you know, Japanese, she's going to be using a Japanese pistol, and it's gonna be from World War II. And it's like, huh, and like I said at the beginning, I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to, you know, get him upset. You know, I was like, yeah, I was soft. Honestly, I was soft. If that exact interaction happened now, I would be like, nah, this sucks. What are you doing?
No, why is she just pulling out a gun?
Yeah. So I had to make it work for the plot. I was like, okay, well, I had to make the gun fail to fire because it was old. So, you know, I kind of fixed it to work in that regard. The gun is old, so yeah, it failed to fire. But I had to do research. I was like, okay, you know, the gun is called a Nambu. It's actually a gun used by the Japanese in World War II. So the historical accuracy is there. You know, if you like that stuff, you can appreciate it, I guess. But you know, it didn't really need to be like, it was just a random detail that's like, what? Like, why is that necessary? You know what I mean? The scene would have been the exact same if the gun was just mentioned as gun. And then like, it didn't even need to be a Nambu. You know, it could have been anything. And I could have rewritten the story to be, oh, she forgot to load the gun, so it didn't work. She forgot to, you know, cock it or whatever. You know, there's a many multitude of different ways that I could have done that. But I kept it because, like I said, I didn't want to hurt the guy's feelings, quite frankly. And you know, he just seemed, you know, really passionate about it. So like, I was just like, oh,
just really wanted her to shoot herself with a gun.
Oh, and that was again a Cool Dude 34 idea. That one that I just ended up keeping.
Of course, it's always Cool Dude 34. He doesn't sound that cool of a dude, you know.
I don't want to take the blame entirely off of me. I could have done better in kind of fixing that scene to be better than what it currently is. The scene itself was his, but the fixing that I had to do really didn't fix everything about it. It still kind of comes across as like, yeah, like, what are these unnecessary details? You know what I mean? It's hard to not talk about that scene and not bring up the art. And a lot of the criticism that I see for that scene in particular, a lot of people say that they didn't like the artwork. I say this because he's currently in the chat right now. And, you know, I'm not gonna, like, you know, bash him for his, like, oh, you made something bad. I really appreciate what he did for me. And, you know, because at the time, artists were gone. I had nothing else left. So he was a beginner at the time, and he offered to help, and I said, yes, yeah, help me. And honestly, I really, when I saw it, I was like, you know, it's not too, like, it's not bad. You know, I think, like, you know what, it works. It's fine. Then once it got out there and, you know, I started seeing a lot of the feedback that people were bringing, yeah, people were really saying, like, yeah, the art's kind of jarring compared to everything else that's in the mod. And, you know, he was a beginner, you know, like, you know, cut him some slack, you know, he was barely starting out. And art is hard to come by. So, you know, I feel like people were a little bit too harsh on that. At the same time,
I don't know if I really mentioned the art. I think I was more affected by the craziness of the fact that Monica just pulled out a gun more so than how she's drawn. Like, I was focusing more on the fact that she just pulled a pistol out more so than how Monica was drawn. Like I said, sometimes like people focus on the wrong parts.
Yeah, and it was like, okay, you know, when I started seeing it in when I was looking at feedback and people playing through it, I was like, okay, yeah, it's a little ugly looking. Sorry, wrote it. You know, you're amazing. I love you, man. And you do great work now. He does great work now. But we all started from somewhere, and I don't want to understate the fact that you did something for me that I still appreciate to this day. You helped me get this mod finished, and you know it's rough around the edges, but you helped me get it finished, and that's something that I'm always gonna appreciate. Um, so you know, let me the little round of applause for the guy who wrote it for helping me out there. Um, but yeah, so you know, it's nice to know that you know he's improved a lot, and but it's just you know it's a reminder that you know we all start from somewhere. Doesn't matter what it is. Um, and yeah, it's a little ugly, but you know whose art isn't ugly when they're all starting out or they're all beginners.
True.
It
So
reminds me of my Encore CG that I did for Encore. It looks really bad now. I can do much better work now.
yeah,
Everyone's
so
gotta
you know
start.
as long as you're able to recognize like yeah you did bad work before, but you know it helps you realize how much you've been able to improve.
Mhm.
So it's always nice to kind of have that reminder. I do it. I go out of my way to do it. I look at my old drawing and I compare it to something that I do, and it's like, wow, progress. You know, it's also it's really really fun to do that. Um, but yeah, I still remember watching your video, Zero, on the playthrough. I don't think I ever joined it live, but I remember watching the video and seeing like chat reactions to that particular scene, and you know some people really kind of getting out of it. I don't remember who specifically, but I remember seeing people saying like you know it really takes them out of the mod, or it kind of broke their immersion. And at the time I was like oh you know I was disappointed because you know it's like it sucks to see people not really enjoying it you know as much as you want them to.
Yeah.
But it's still you know it's something that you got to face, because you know when you throw your work out there you got to be ready for that stuff. um and I remember kind of feeling down about it, and then I think you or Monica I think reached out to me, and this was on my old Discord account. This is like my second one, so I'm not going to be able to find these messages, but you guys reached out and said like you know like it's up there with your favorites. I don't know where that stands now. You know, so many other mods have come out and probably have done a better job, but I still remember like Monica reached out, and I think you said that it like you got emotional over the ending or the Monica
Oh, yeah,
stuff.
that was a Monica
Yeah.
got emotional a lot in the beginning of this. Monica.
I
And,
kind of
uh,
remember doing that.
I
yeah.
still also in terms of where it stands now. I think I still recommend Salvation to people when they usually ask for like Sayori mods. I say like Blue Skies, Sayori are out, and like Salvation. Like if they really want to enjoy, like, if they really want to Sayori mod.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. I appreciate that. But yeah, it's you know being so new at the thing and being so new with everything, it was you know new to doing something like a big thing like that. That's what I meant. It's hard. It was hard to kind of really get used to the harsh criticisms, the regular ones, and all the positivity too. It got overwhelming, you know. As I said before, I ended up just taking down the mod for a while because I was really struggling to, you know, kind of come to terms with all of that. I've been asked, would I do it again if given the opportunity? Because I think I did I think a year ago now, honestly, I made a post on Reddit asking how people would feel about a Salvation remake. And the support was overwhelming. People wanted to see one. There was a couple. I think even Zero, you said that it's not really necessary.
Yeah, I'm one of the few people. I will openly stay as the prude to the idea of people remaking stuff because I don't want the modding community to just become a bunch of remakes.
Yeah, I feel like, oh god, like you've told me like I've started trends.
Yeah, because I've heard people be like, "Oh, Fruits should get a remake," and like, there's a bunch of them like, we don't need to start remaking stuff. We can just make new ideas.
Yeah. So when I did that, I was like, I went into thinking like, oh, how would the community feel? How would the community think if I did this? And I realized, no. I should not be thinking of it like that. If it's gonna be something that I'm gonna do, it's because I want to do it, and not because a community would
How
like
would
to see
you
it.
feel about it?
Or yeah, how would I feel? And personally, I need to give it time. I would need to really feel like, okay, I would need to do something different for it to work, or for it to be something that I'd want to do. I would not do, I would say this right now, I would not do a simple remaster where I just fix the grammar, fix the art, and then maybe do a couple story changes. I won't do that. I'll say right now, if it ever happens, it would be something pretty different. And I mean, that would be, I mean, that's basically, it would be something that I want to do, and not because a community or because a community would like it. You know, because I saw it. You know, a community wouldn't really be opposed to that idea. Yeah, of course you're gonna have the few that are gonna be like, nah, but I wouldn't care. I would do it anyway. But since for me, I don't really feel like doing that right now, it's not really something that I see myself doing, not for a long time.
Yeah, because I think.
And then, if I do, like you said, it would be a new idea. Kobe-san joins the literature club. There you go.
Yeah, because when it comes to remakes, also sometimes it's the problem of when you do change so much to the point where it's like, when does it stop becoming a remake and starts becoming its own thing? With Salvation, I can definitely see it working because the concept of Salvation is still just, you know, as long as it keeps the same exact concept of MC stops Sayori, and then, you know, like Monica tries to, you know, it's like, as long as it sticks with that, that's definitely way more to the point where it's like, yeah, like, totally. But yeah, it's like, you don't want like a Final Fantasy VII remake situation where things are changing so rapidly to the point where you're like, can you even call this a remake anymore? This just feels like a different game at this point.
It would be, because there's like a couple of key aspects that make Salvation what it is, and it is what you said. The MC saves Sayori. Monica's still self-aware, but she slowly starts losing control. That is one of the key like aspects to Salvation that makes it what it is, and I guess makes it unique. Is it's not a sudden loss of control, and it's not a complete it's not a complete change to where she's just not sentient at all. It's a slow, gradual change.
She starts to become desperate.
Yeah, and it makes for some unique interactions. You know, it can make for some, you know, different things. Honestly, that's what makes Salvation what it is. And then you can take that concept, do whatever you want with it, but it would still be Salvation because it's got those key aspects. And then thinking about it, I would be like, you know, the original had voice acting. I don't want to do voice acting again.
That's totally fine. That's just an extra thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't do. Yeah, voice acting was a mess. Even in the code, it's a mess. Like the slider doesn't even work for it. It's super quiet. Mess. I wouldn't do that. You know, the little things like that, I just wouldn't do. And then it'd be like, but then that, like you said, yeah, that's extra. That doesn't really make Salvation what it is. But yeah, like I said, I'd be lying if I said I haven't thought about it. But I realized I have to really make sure 100% that it's something that I want to do. Because if it's something that I want to do, oh, I don't care what anybody else thinks. I'm gonna do it anyway.
Oh yeah.
You know, if they say, you know, like, oh, you know, I prefer the original, or like, oh, the original exists, so I don't need to play this, that's fine. Whatever. Like, I don't care. You know.
Yeah, you do you.
Yeah, because it's gonna be. That would be the main difference. That would be the key difference. Was with Salvation being made for the community, I would take the one last memory approach and make it for myself. But that's, I mean, that's.
It's a big old what if.
Yeah, Marvel's What If.
Oh my god, the What If saga from the Dragon Ball games.
Oh, I don't know a Dragon Ball.
Oh no.
All I know is that there's a dragon involved and there's some balls involved.
No, that is true.
Yeah, I don't actually know anime that well. I know Naruto
and
Komi. And that's it.
That is basically it.
That's not entirely true. I've seen a few here and there, but I'm not like super like avid. Like, I'm not like going out of my way to watch everything that comes out.
Neither am I, honestly. I'm not even that like into anime. I've watched like a few here and there, but I'm not the people who like wait for the new, you know, like seasonal anime, and they're like, oh, the new fall anime came out, guys, gotta watch it. Like,
there's a lot of people that are like that.
Yeah.
I've noticed it with the when I'm looking like at Komi stuff. I see a lot of people that are like, oh, like you can tell these are the seasonal anime watchers, man. Like you can just tell. And for me, honestly, I'll be honest, it's kind of hard to imagine, but that kind of like the style of Komi is not the kind of show that I like. It isn't. But it's just the fact that I've been reading it since 2018, and like reading it religiously because I just genuinely enjoy the her character, and I kind of relate to her a bit, to where when the anime got announced, oh my god, dude, it was like I don't know, it's like the greatest feeling in the world, man. There's nothing more hype than that. Nothing. Okay, maybe the Smash character reveal, but nothing.
Oh, true.
Honestly, the last time that I got that hyped over a Smash reveal was freaking Steve from Minecraft. I still can't believe that's real.
I couldn't believe it either. I was like, oh my god, they actually did it.
Yeah, I think the last time I got hyped
to
was
the source material. Like
Steve's
got
too
all
loyal.
the sound effects.
We all know the last time you got
No, last time I got hyped was I think it was a Banjo maybe. I think it was that guy.
Oh, Banjo was a good one.
Yeah.
Whew, that was great.
Right, Monica?
No, you're wrong.
What do you mean I'm wrong?
Mister, I almost cried at Sora.
No.
Wait, did you?
I mean,
That's
from
the
how
character he's wanted in the game.
from how loud I was, it was like if I continued screaming, a tear probably would have fell.
Wow, that's amazing. Going back to the idea of a remake. Like a Salvation remake. Oh my god, I would probably make people hate it with the amount of Komi references I probably would. I don't care.
This
It's
one's
gonna
just
be
a bunch of
chock-full.
memes.
Yeah.
This is just a bunch of Comey references.
Oh my god, I would have a field day with that, man. And I would have a blast. And people would hate it and criticize it to the earth for that. And I won't care. It would be amazing. Like I'll have it to be like where it starts off as like a super serious story. And by the end, it's just the most insane like thing where they're just all Comey fanatics and that's all they talk about.
That's all they talk about. It was all a
Oh,
bait.
that would be hilarious. Oh my god. Yeah, y'all should go watch it. If there's a game that I could recommend, another quirky Earthbound inspired RPG. I don't know if it's old. It's not like Omori where it's kind of new. It's called One Shot.
I was about to say, is it One Shot? Because I saw you playing that recently on your
Yeah.
Discord. And
Yeah. Oh
I've
my
heard
God.
of it. I've been like meaning to kind of
thought you were
like
gonna
play it at
say,
some point.
I thought you were gonna say off, and I was gonna be like, oh.
No, I don't know what that is. But One
Oh.
Shot is it. God, I hate to compare it to DDLC because that does not do it justice. But we all remember how DDLC made us feel the first times we played it.
Yeah.
That sense of that fear, that sense of wonder of what's gonna happen next. One Shot was the next game to give me that feeling. It's that kind of game, and I'm in love with it. It's amazing, and I recommend it wholeheartedly. Like if you ever want to do something after Omori, One Shot. Not only is it like so much shorter, it honestly impacted me way more, and I think it's just because the music, the style, the gameplay. I mean, the gameplay, it's okay, it's all right, but it's the story, it's the music, and it's cheap. Well, I mean,
It's like $10,
depending.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like $10. I got it on the Steam sale. One of the best purchases I made in a long time. It's an amazing game. Yeah, everybody in this chat, go play it right now. Right now, go.
It's a game that I've always wanted to play, but then I keep forgetting it exists. Then and then someone brings it up, and I'm like, oh yeah, that game.
I don't know if it's underrated. I haven't been around enough to really tell if it is. But
I've heard
remember-
people sometimes
I remember
talk
when
about
it came out. I remember when it came out. It was really like everyone was talking about it, but then like the next year, it was like kind of. Like,
I think
no
it's
one was really
just
talking about it.
It's not new anymore. It's not as new anymore, and
Yeah.
the story that it wanted to tell was probably already done. So it was like, wasn't really much else for people to really talk about when it comes to it. Like, the people who played it will remember the game, but
Oh yeah.
there's nothing to really talk about with the game to really, like, unless you find someone else who's played it, or unless someone brings it up, and then in which case you're like,
Yeah,
oh yeah.
That's how I heard about it. I heard about it from my friend who
Yeah.
was, who really, really, really loves Nico, the cat. Which I love Nico too. He's great. I personally think he's a guy, but his gender is left ambiguous, so he could be whatever you want.
Oh my god.
But,
it's just like Chris Deltarune.
Oh, I don't know. Oh, that's one thing that I just don't care to play. Undertale and Deltarune.
I just don't care to play.
Listen,
Understandable.
I have heard many great things. I'm sure they're great games because I personally love Earthbound and Mother 3. Those are my favorite RPGs of all time. So, naturally one would assume that the one that are like inspired by Earthbound and Mother 3, I would enjoy playing. The community is what turned me off to the game, and it's hard to really take it. I know myself, and I know it would be hard for me to see it for what it is, because I'm just gonna think of freaking Sans all the time.
As someone who's played both of them, I feel like Deltarune's the better experience. Like,
Yeah, it
because
is.
even Undertale, in my opinion, has some issues that I have with it that I feel like the Deltarune fixes pretty well. So I feel like Deltarune's the better experience, and it's free, unlike Undertale. So
Free right now.
yeah, well, I mean, the first 2 chapters are free, so it's like.
And I remember when the games came out, and if you ever said anything bad about the game,
Yeah.
oh my god, you
It
would
was
get
horrible.
destroyed, dude. And that was another thing that was like, yeah, okay, I'm good.
I'm
know.
Pretty
good.
sure there were instances on Twitter or whatever of people trying to like cancel somebody because they went in the genocide route. first
Yeah,
or
people
something.
got super upset at
Like,
it
people
was
just
ridiculous.
because
I
they
was like,
would go
guys,
on a
it's a
route in the
game.
game.
Like act like they
Um,
murdered someone in real life.
I'm kind of glad Omori didn't end up like that, because Omori is the quirky Earthbound inspired RPG.
Yeah, no one just talks about Amori, it seems, and if they do,
But
it's
that one-
usually.
Yeah, everyone kind of just has a general consensus on the game, and like I've got my problems with it, but they're like understandable problems. They're not like, oh, I hate the game and then I get attacked for having a different opinion.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I enjoyed Omori a lot because yeah, like I said, it reminds me a lot of Earthbound, and the wacky characters and all that. So, good game. I recommend Omori too. One Shot though, oh my god, I think I enjoyed One Shot more. So take that as you will. But generally, when there's a big, massive community around something and they kind of act a certain way, I will usually avoid anything to do with that. Like DDLC, if I had joined a little later to where I saw people doing the bad stuff, I would avoid it like the plague.
Half
I
the
would've
time,
avoided it
it's
like
good
the
to just kind of like be. I feel like the problem is when you entangle yourself too deep into any community. I feel like nobody should.
Yeah.
I feel like nobody should like try to glue themselves a part of a community. I feel like interacting with the community is fine, but that's what it should just stay to. It should stay to you just being like, okay, let me just look at this community a little bit, and like you just kind of you'll look at some stuff and then you'll leave and go do something else. Then it's fine. But like when you like fully enwrap yourself in a community, and this goes for literally any community, it's going to wear you out. Like you're going to just because you're gonna see all this stuff with all these people just constantly. It's like you just need to be able to just walk in, be like, "Oh, hello, what is going on here? Okay, cool," and then go do something else. Don't feel like you're attached to it.
Yeah, definitely. And I know that's kind of. I'm not saying it's a good thing. It's a bad habit of mine to where I kind of just get overwhelmed with the community and I kind of forget to separate the game from the community. That's something that it's important to learn how to do, because why are you gonna let a couple bad apples ruin a genuinely good experience?
Of course,
I'm aware of that. It's still pretty hard for me to kind of just sit down and play, like I said, Undertale, because like I said, Sans.
yeah. Sometimes things are memed to hell and back that you're like, when you play it, you're like, oh god.
Yeah, and then like so that initial feeling that I would want from it is gone. Plus, I've been spoiled already. I kind of
Oh, well then there's no point in you playing it.
but I do know what happens, and I do know some of the details. So it's like it's like whatever.
Yeah, that's one of the bigger issues with Undertale is that literally it's only a good game on a blind playthrough. Like, if you know a lot of the stuff that happens or something, there's no point in playing the game anymore. Like, the game is only special on your first playthrough, which in the time of the internet is really hard to have a game like that.
The DDLC is the same way. Honestly.
Well, DDLC's similar, but I still feel like there's more you can still get out of DDLC, even if you knew that, because it's the fact of where it's like, if someone told you, like, something was up with this game, you still don't know when it's gonna pull the rug under you. You just know it's gonna pull the rug under you.
It's weird how we've gone almost 3 hours, and I didn't talk about my experience with the original game.
Wait a minute.
That's weird. It's I remember I was it came out when September 2017, and I played the game December 2017. So a couple months. It was still new.
I was a month before you. I was in November.
Yeah. So I remember, it was God rest his soul. It was an Etika stream. He was checking out the game, and I remember it got to it was kind of going through, and I'm like, this is boring as hell, because again, I didn't like visual novels, and I'm like, all I heard was this is a horror game, and that you kind of have to play it on your own. So I'm like, okay, fine. So I left the stream, downloaded the game, and I got through it, and oh god, Act 1 was such a drag. Oh my god.
I was like, I hear that from so many people, and I sit there and I'm like, I guess I was different or something, because I was for some weirdly into it.
What kept me hooked was thinking, okay, yeah, this is gonna go bad in some way, or something's gonna happen. I honestly had no idea. I did not expect that it was gonna go there.
Bro, I wanted to see the festival, man. You understand? I wanted to see what was gonna happen.
Yeah, I go for Yuri, naturally. And there were a couple. I honestly thought the weird stuff was her, licking the blood. I had a bad feeling about the knife, because I'm like, oh, that's gonna be, I was thinking of that. So when the scene comes up, when the music is quiet, there's no music, and you go to the thing, and the poem gets brought up, Get Out of My Head. The feeling that I got from that was indescribable, dude. It was like, holy balls. Like, I got scared, and I'm like, oh god, what is this? And the no music was really effective there. Music kind of would have taken me out of it. The silence was perfect. So when you go to the house, the sense of dread leading up to that moment was like, oh my god, it was blinding, dude. It was crazy. And keep in mind, I was playing this at like 2 in the morning, lights off, it was dark, and I was like, oh my god. And I've got headphones on, and I gently open the door, the boom happens, the spook happens. I genuinely I gasp, and I'm like, oh my god. That was my reaction. And I was like, oh Jesus. And I remember putting my hands over my mouth. I remember I was like, oh my god, like, a game has never done this to me before. It was a crazy feeling. And I got nightmares from it. I had,
I think I kind of couldn't go to sleep for a bit afterwards too, because I didn't think they were gonna because like I was outside the door. When I was outside the door, I was sitting there like, okay, she probably killed herself. Like, I was already kind of prepared for that. And I was like, the game's probably not gonna show it. I was like, they're probably gonna like cut to black and just have the implied that she died. So then when you open the door and I'm like, oh shit, like I was not expecting them to show me a hanging just body, and I was like, oh my god.
It was violent. The noise scared me. The music scared me.
The background fucking up scared me. I was like, ah.
I thought it was gonna be way worse than it was. I was going in that room thinking that like I thought she had a gun. I thought she was gonna blow her brains out with like a shotgun or something.
Bro,
and,
salvation.
Like, I thought there was gonna be like I was expecting to go into that room and see like blood all over the walls and stuff. So I half covered my screen because I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna see right now. And then I saw that and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Fucked up.
So, and then I'll go back a little bit. So Sayori wasn't my favorite, but she started to grow on me a lot because how can you not, right? Like, the childhood friend. I feel for that because I've got a childhood friend of my own that I'm still kind of close with. So I feel for that, and it was something that I related to. And then everything that she had been going through, I related to that too. So I was like, okay. This is the serious part. This is when things get bad. And I was like, oh, okay. So, that's when I started thinking like, oh, it's going to get into mental health. It's going to, it's going to start getting into all that. So when that happened, it was genuinely shocking and it made me feel like garbage, but in the best way possible. I think maybe that was the intention. So that happens, and I love glitches in video games because they're hilarious, but they can also be kind of spooky. Like in Pokemon Red and Blue, I adore the glitches in that game because there's so many, and some of them are so creepy. Herobrine from Minecraft. Oh my god, I can't believe I just said that in a serious voice. Herobrine. When I was a kid, back in 2012, he had always been like quote unquote a glitch, an unintended line of code, and that scared me. The idea of like a somebody being there with you in a single player game is scary. But when I was a kid, I always saw him as a glitch. So I had always been scared of glitches. Of course, when I played Fallout 3, Skyrim, I was like, yo, these glitches are mad funny. So I love glitches in video games. So when it started glitching out, it was insane. I was like, oh my god, this is not supposed to be happening. And knowing what visual novels were at the time, I was like, oh god, I messed up. I chose the wrong option. I reloaded. Same thing happens. More shock. I was like, no, why?
No.
No.
The music is something that still sticks with me to this day. There's something about it that's just genuinely now that I've made a mod, now that I've made 2, and I've really just heard it constantly, it doesn't have that same effect, and I'm saddened by that. I wish that I could feel that same effect again.
It's like I can appreciate the music, I think, more now that I've heard it. Like I've been like, I can hear it and actually be like, wow, this is a nice it's a nice song.
No, it's genuinely a nice song.
Yeah,
it's just
but I'm not creeped out by
Wait, what? Huh? What?
What?
Huh?
What?
I don't know what happened. I thought it's like you're not creeped out by what?
Oh yeah. Oh, no, I thought we finished it. Oh, I thought it was sorry, that was me who stopped talking. I was
Did
like,
you finish the sentence in your head? But
I guess I did.
That happens to me a lot too. It's crazy. It's like the brain keeps going, but my mouth just stops moving.
Yeah, so I was like, I thought I did. But yeah, it was like the song was like it doesn't creep me out anymore if I hear, like, I'm not like scared when I hear it anymore. But now I'm like, this is a really sad sounding. Like I could just can appreciate how sad sounding it is. Like I'm like, damn, this is kind of a sad, depressing song.
It's one of my favorite songs of the game. Yet for a while at the start, I could not hear that song because it scared me so bad. So when and then so the game kept going. I thought that that glitch that happened where you're seeing the traceback in the background was like, oh god, like the game is broken. But then the dialogue kept going. He kept saying how oh my god, like I'm actually seeing this right now. I'm like, oh, this is actually happening. And then he says oh, there's nothing I can do. She's gone. And it says end. I thought that was it. I closed the game.
I thought that was it too.
I go to school the next day. I talk to my friend and I'm like, oh my god, I see what you mean, dude. That was an experience. And he was like, oh, did you get to Act 2 yet? I'm like, huh? what? What act 2? And I'm like, it's like, do you mean like the festival part? I thought that he meant like the weekend part. And he's like, no. And he kind of did spoil it a little bit, where he was like, no, did you see, the game start glitching out? And I'm like, do you mean like after like when Sayori died? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, no, I closed the freaking game. And he's like, no, you gotta go back. You gotta go back. And I'm like, okay.
You gotta go back. There was so much more.
There's more.
I kid you not. In my class, it was like one of those long classes where we had computers. It was one of those days where we weren't doing anything. I straight up downloaded it on the school computer and started playing.
You played DDLC on the school computer.
No, I didn't play it on the school computer. That's wrong. I had my laptop, so I was able to continue from my laptop because that wouldn't make sense.
Yeah.
So, the game loads up and Sayori's gone from the menu, and I'm like, oh, what? and then my friend kind of tells me, check the game files. I check the game files. There's the text there, and it's saying like, she says this would be incredibly easy, or this would be a lot easier if I just deleted her. And I'm like, what? It was the first time that I'd ever seen something like that, where the game starts creating files.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and I was blown away by that, and I was like, holy moly. So I keep going. The intro starts. Sayori's name's glitched out, and I'm like, oh my god. And then Sayori shows up, the glitch happens, ding 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 ding, and then it just skips on. And Act 2 was, oh god, it was an experience, man. And I think what actually helped Act 2 hold up, because I got DDLC Plus on my Switch, and I played through it again. Which, oh my god, why does the Switch have FPS issues? What the hell's up with that?
I didn't play the Switch version. I played it on Steam, but I do have it on Switch.
Let me tell you right now, when you're skipping through dialogue, the game has
I think
literal
Monica
frame
said
drops.
that.
Yeah.
Because she played it on Switch. Yeah, she talked about that. Yeah, it apparently can't run skipping.
Yeah. When I was going through Act 1...
What it'll do is it'll, like, at a part where it's loading, like, a new background or something, it'll freeze for a second. And then it'll just keep going, and I was like, oh my gosh. Cannot handle that.
When I found out that the whole port is kind of unoptimized, like the entire script is just shoved into Unity, and it just kind of reads it, I'm just like, okay, maybe they could have done a better job with this port. But when going through Act 1 again, I was just skipping through because I'm like, I don't need to be going through this for the 50th time. But when the freezes would happen, I remember just saying like, "Oh shit," out loud, because I was like, "What is this? Is this new? Like, what is that glitch?" It was an actual glitch. It wasn't, part of the game.
There is another actual glitch in the Switch version. It might be patched out now, but when I was playing it, when it came out, there's a little like bug with the poem game where sometimes when you click words that the girls like, they'll jump, right? They're supposed to jump. But for some reason, when they jump, it attempts to reset their position, but because they don't know where to put them, they teleport across the screen. So they would they would wind up in places they're not supposed to be. I literally have a picture of it somewhere. Yuri is literally on the words. Let me see if I can find it.
Oh, that's hilarious. See, that's funny. That's funny.
It is funny. It was funny.
But let me tell you, so when I got to Act 2 again, I was kind of skipping through just to kind of get the new content unlocked. A glitch happened that I had never seen before. And when I did my research, it wasn't the original. It just had a really small chance of happening. And it was a glitch where it was just a white screen. It was a distorted Sayori face with a really, really, wide smile. And, just the slightest, tone. It was just... like that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, that gave me chills, dude, because I was like, I have never seen this before. and the face was weird. It was just a white screen. The noise got low, and then it got louder and louder and louder and louder. I'm like, oh my god. And it actually scared me, and I'm like, okay,
Jesus.
I admit it, this game managed to scare me again 4 years later.
It got me
too. That was the only
too.
instance of that.
It got me, and I think I got the one scene when I was replaying it in DDLC Plus. I got the one scene in Act 2 I don't think I've gotten before when I was playing it. When me and Monica were playing, because I was trying to skip through to get the rest of the do the rest of the stuff, and then I was like, wait, why is it like just black? And then it fucking called Yuri up on the screen with like her no eyes, and I was like, oh shit!
That one.
Like I forgot about this. I was like, oh fuck!
I think that was the part where I was like, what was that?
Yeah, you were
for?
like, what was that for? Because I forgot that I forgot she does that in the corridor. I thought she only does that in the classroom. So I was like, oh fuck! It's like I forgot about that one.
I sent the
crazy.
picture of the glitch I was talking about. It's
I know,
so
I'm
funny
looking
that-
at it. That's hilarious.
She's just
They
over the
jump
fucking
over.
words.
Yeah, I clicked her word and she literally went from there, went over there. She popped over there and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. And then I remember not being too knowledgeable in things when Act 3 happened and the game was just basically like torn to shreds. I was scared. There was a webcam on my computer, and when she said my computer's name, I moved away from the webcam. I got nervous. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna be to the side over here.
That thing was ruined for me when I played because the computer I played it on was like a secondhand computer. So like its name was literally just PC.
Oh man.
So
yeah.
Monica was like, "Is your name PC?" And I was like, "What?" No.
Yeah. That's a nice way to break the immersion of
Yeah,
or break
I
the
was like,
illusion.
"Are you serious right now?"
You really broke the game, Monica.
Yeah, when it said my name after I told the game explicitly to use not that name, it was like a pah. I was like, oh, that's weird, that's creepy. And then Act 4, I got bored again because it was just the same old stuff, but Monica was gone, and I'm like, okay, is it gonna get weird again? And then I started noticing that the club was actually like better, and I'm like, oh, strange. And I was one of those at the beginning that thought Monica was the bad guy.
The trap
and then
people
Sayo-
still fall
and then-
into.
Sayori does the thing where she goes cuckoo, and I'm like, and to this day, I'm still kind of confused on why. Because I was like, wait a minute, like I get the whole like when you realize that nothing else is real, you kind of just wanna. She's just kind of hasty, and she just kind of wants
She
to
wants
get
to
to the
leave, yeah.
point. Yeah, because I guess you take Monica's personality into account. She's a perfectionist. She wants to do everything the best way she can. Kind of failed at that with all those glitches. But
I
she tried her
think
best.
what I took from it, why Sayori rushes to it, is because she says she knows about Monica. So I guess she saw everything Monica tried to do and was like, alright, well, she took that long and it didn't work, so I'm just gonna cut to the point and see if this can... I'm just gonna cut to the point and see if this can work, and then,
Yeah.
you know...
That's a good way of looking at it. For me, my first impression, I still remember, was how did she know that she did all that? And
yeah, I
think
guess. That's weird.
maybe when she became president, all of the memories kind of go with you.
I suppose, yeah.
Or she was aware of it the whole time, because remember, Monica said that she never actually deleted anybody. She kind of just hid them away.
I think she probably saw all of Act 2 and 3, yeah, just because she was still in the game, technically. So yeah,
which
maybe
would
she
be
still saw all
definitely
of it.
that's like a weird implication, because I guess it means that she wasn't really dead.
Well, none of them ever were really dead, because yeah, as Monica says, none of them... Technically, the only character who legitimately got deleted in the game was Monica, because of all the other ones, she says she just kind of, like, just kind of made the game not recognize them. So she just kind of moved them somewhere. So it's like the only character who legitimately gets deleted is Monica.
Yeah, because the game doesn't glitch out when she's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, weird. Oh my god, I can't believe I'm talking seriously about DDLC 4 years later.
It's a crazy
That's
game.
Really weird. Yeah, I bash on it a lot. I don't really like
You're hard on the things you love. That's what it is.
It comes from a place of appreciation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to hate these characters because, you spend all this
I wish
time
I
with
could
them.
hate them.
Yeah, it's like, come on.
They're in my life constantly.
I wanna just punch him in the face, you know. But I can't do that.
I talk. I take out all my anger by talking shit about Natsuki. It's okay. I don't mean any of it, but I'll say it.
Yeah, but my experience with DDLC was something that special, and then immediately I was like, I'm coping hard. And then so when Rain Clouds was being developed, I was like, oh, I need it. Now that I realize it wasn't even that good.
Yeah.
But it was like a through like rose tinted glasses kind of thing where, you know, it was one of the first mods, and the highs of that original DDLC was still there, but a lot of those issues are like issues that I would have if I played mods now, where like the mischaracterization, not really doing anything new, falling into that Act 1 syndrome.
Surprisingly, it's been actually stopping. I've not.
That is good.
I don't think I've actually have not run into Act 1 syndrome for a while. I think now that it's become a thing, people have said people have not been doing it, so it's actually been pretty nice. It's been a nice refresher.
That's good. I mean, I hope for the best. Like I would love for the content to actually become, you know, better and become more.
It's definitely, as someone who's been staying here looking at it, it's definitely been improving. It's
That's
like,
good.
Which is,
that is good to hear.
It's a nice thing to say.
It's cool to hear that as a, you know, somebody who was here at the beginning and saw a lot of mods in their infancy. Seeing how far things have come is amazing to me. I've seen MPT. I've been, you know, told that what it does and how it really streamlines things, and I'm like, that's the stuff that I like. You know, making modding easier, because DDLC modding is not easy to do.
It's a pain
oh my
in the
god,
ass.
it's in a weird, because you take all, like, tons of games have mods: Fallout, Skyrim, Minecraft. You know,
Smash Bros.
Smash Brothers, yeah. But DDLC sits in a unique spot in the modding community, or in the modding space, where it's not just adding in a custom asset. It's not just adding a quality of life change. It's like making full experiences out of what the game originally has, you know, making a full story, doing something different, new. You know,
it's more like with unique storytelling rather than just being like the game, but like this is different.
yeah, and that, because it works for those games, you know, Skyrim, but you can moon jump, you know, that can change a game. With DDLC, the only way to really change the game is to completely change it. You know, you can't really get away with doing a mod where it just kind of, I guess you can, you know, like, oh look, here's a mod that kind of gives all the characters colored text boxes, and that's cool, but like, you don't really see yourself replaying the original game just to see colored text boxes.
Oh yeah, of course.
So, or it's like, you know, mods. I feel like the mods came from a unique space where people were just coping, and they were like,
a good portion was
Sayori
coping,
saved, you know.
Yeah, a good portion was coping. That's why a lot of Save the Dokis kind of came out in the beginning.
Yeah, and honestly, I was like a sucker for that stuff, because I was the same way. I was like, I need to see them happy, man.
I need to cope.
Yeah. So it's a unique, and honestly, it's as close to actual game development that you can get, because you're doing coding, you're doing custom assets, you're doing a custom story, you know, all these things. Like, the amount of work that people have put in is work that, like, you can put into an indie game or a new visual novel. You know, it's crazy, but people's passion is what drives them to do this stuff. Like, I guess that's how I even managed to get Salvation done. I was passionate about it, even though it kind of ended up falling off a little bit for me. I still wanted to get it done, and I was still kind of passionate about the story that I had made, despite all of its problems. So I would say, like, for people who are making mods, or, you know, who want to get into it, not easy. Prepare yourself for one hell of a ride. It's fun, but it's hard work. don't go into this thinking that it's gonna be like, oh, you know what, I'm gonna make this. It's hard.
It's hard, yeah.
Because I don't even know. It's tough. And you don't want to fall into that trap where you think it's gonna be easy, because you'll end up kind of suffering as a result, and then you won't even end up enjoying what you're doing. That's why when Zero said a couple minutes ago, start off with something small and then see if you enjoy that. And then I honestly see the appeal in episodic releases. I've seen people do that, and I'm like, wow, like, what if Salvation was done that way? I feel like it would have been better, for the story, for the quality, because you have time to really flesh out each act. Not saying you can't do that normally, but it is like an idea that I saw where it's like that probably helps with mod making.
Probably better for pacing and everything too, and pacing yourself as well.
Yeah, it's good. Like, it might take a really long time for the whole thing to be done, but like, it gives yourself a break, and it gives yourself time to really think about everything, and like time to work on everything, and it makes a lot of content, but like, you can make it thoroughly and flesh it out a lot better if you just space out each individual part of your mod.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing to get into. I don't regret it. I think I've had a couple moments where I was convinced that I did. I was like, man, I hate this. Why did I do this? But these days, I don't. I'm glad that I did it. I'm glad that I was able to make an impact on the community. In high school, I was voted most likely to be a celebrity. This was not what I was expecting.
They were right. Oh.
It was like, this is weird, but I've had people recognize me in places that I don't expect them to. They're like, hey, you're that guy that did that thing. And I'm like, huh?
Oh my god.
But, and despite that, I went, maybe it's been 3 years since Salvation was released. I have never been able to talk about my experience in a public capacity like this. I would do the occasional little interview streams with just friends of mine, but those were friends, and they only had 3-4 viewers, and those viewers were my friends. So doing something like this, I have never gotten the opportunity to talk about it, and it feels good to finally get this off my chest all these years later. Because I've always, I left the community, and I've always kind of just been a lone wolf, kind of jumping around. I would join a server, talk for a little bit, leave, join again, leave, because I can't come back to it. It's hard for me to do that. The community side of things, at least. Because I said I was gonna leave, and I kind of want to stick to that.
Yeah.
But I like this. I'm coming back to do this, and it's nice to really kind of.
As always said, people just dabble. People just dabble in the community stuff. Don't attach yourself. Just dabble into community stuff, and then so that you don't feel tied down, or so you don't feel super like affected when you see something dumb with it. You don't feel like, I have to do something. But it's like, no, you don't. This isn't your community. This is just a community that you also happen to dabble in.
Now, like the bad stuff. I hope you know what I'm referring to with that.
Yeah, there's always
that is frustrating to see, because even though I'm not really super involved in the community, it's frustrating to see it kind of end up gaining that reputation. Because I know that that's just a couple bad apples, but I mean, it happens so often. It happened kind of close to each other, where these things were just happening, and it's hard to defend the community when you have stuff like that. So it's just kind of better to just kind of not associate with the community anymore. My friends, do you remember that DDLC zine that was made for Dan? I've heard from my friends that have worked on it that was a nightmare all on its own.
Yeah, I've heard from the people who worked on it. They told me that too. I'm friends with a few from there.
And it's like,
I worked on that.
oh, okay. So then, you can. You probably
contest.
remember. There's a little bit of a mess.
Little bit, little bit.
And it's just little things like that when I hear people talk about that, and it's it's like, yeah, I think I'm good. I don't really need to be involved with this community. But it has its moments. I remember in the beginning, it was a very, very, very supportive, it wasn't like, again, God, I hate to use this word. It wasn't cringe. There was a lot of genuine support, and people, like, hey, I got into art because of DDLC, and then they end up becoming amazing at it, and people getting into writing, boom, they go and make their own game, or they make their own story, comic, whatever it is. And then people that were traumatized by the game or really affected by it, they were able to seek out support from people. That was honestly the peak for me, because I remember there was a lot of supportive people, and that to me was what the community was all about. Just a bunch of people coping hard and supporting each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've got my gripes with the community, but I don't. No, I don't like it. But,
I
yeah,
still enjoy it. I feel like it's
but
there's definitely a
it has its
portion of the
moments.
community that's weird, but for what I've been able to look at for the most part, I'm fine with it. It's pretty alright.
Yeah.
I think like my favorite kind of content is still the art, because that's something that you can always appreciate, and a lot of genuine hard work and passion always goes into the art most of the time. And occasionally I'll still see a comic strip and I'll get a laugh out of it, or it'll make me smile. It's not all bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ugh. Oh God, it's 1 a.m. All right.
Yeah, we reached the 3-hour 30-minute mark, and
Yeah.
you know what? It's perfect because I kind of ran out of stuff to say.
All right. Well, that's good. All right. Well, thank you. Well, thank you for coming on and everything, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, this was fun. It's kind of sad to think that I really won't get a chance to do this again, but oh God, this is gonna be corny. No, never mind. I'm not gonna say it. It was gonna be a quote from DDLC, but I'm not gonna say that shit.
No, man. Now you gotta say it.
No, I'm not. No, I don't even think the quote is right. What did she say? Not all good things have to come.
Not all good things have to come to
Okay.
an end.
I was gonna get it wrong, and that would have been embarrassing.
That's not even
So
from
good thing I didn't.
DDLC. That's just a quote.
All right.
All good things must come to an end.
How about we
Yeah.
cut this part of the stream? Let's cut it. It doesn't need to be in the video.
This is all good things must come to an
Nah,
end.
but for real, thanks for having me. This was fun. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to do this. It's something that I've always wanted to do. But bro, that's a Terminator 2 quote.
It's not even from Terminator 2. It's in Terminator 2, probably.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's kind of sad that this is probably the one and only time that I'll be able to do this, but
I mean,
who knows? Maybe
you got Twitter. You can always, whenever you have any thoughts, you just throw them out there.
No, I'm not you. I'm not going to talk about what they're going to eat for breakfast.
That's where you're missing out. Those are the banger tweets. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh my God.
Maybe in the future, if I ever decide to do another mod, I would love to do something like this again.
I mean,
About that mod, of course.
Yeah, if I'm still doing this, probably, then yeah, I'd be totally down.
Oh, you've been doing it for your career is tied to this now. You're gonna be doing this when you're 60.
No, I meant the mod interview part, not the not
Cyril
the
knows that he's gonna
YouTube
be at this
part.
for a
I
while.
was the YouTube part. I know I'm gonna be here for a while. Even just DDLC content. I'm already know I'm probably gonna be here for a bit. I've been able to somehow make other pieces of content that's still related to this game somehow. So yeah, I'm not thinking about leaving that for a good bit. Also about the mod interview part, because this series just started.
Yeah. Oh God. Hopefully I didn't oh man, it's gonna be people are gonna have to top this one, huh?
please. You don't have to top this one. It's okay. Everyone's
You
gonna
don't
be
have to. You don't
everyone's-
have to. I suck. I suck. Remember that. Giz sucks.
Everyone's gonna sit there and be like, I have to talk to Zero for 3 hours and 30 minutes. I'm like, no, you don't have to do that.
I think I'm in a unique situation. I do talk a lot because I don't really get to talk about these things.
Oh, that's fine.
I apologize if I did go off on really long tangents.
That's
kinda-
fine.
It's
I didn't
fine.
really. I kind of sometimes forget that I just kind of just go off. But yeah, you know, maybe there can be another time we can do this.
Definitely.
Play one shot.
Definitely one shot. But yeah, I guess that's it for.
Wait.
Well,
Final words.
well,
Play one shot. Watch Kome-san. Read Kome-san. I'm done. Peace.
there it is.